So, welcome to Backstage Community Forum. I'm Scott. This is Mr. Chris Lakey. He is been a drummer in Herricane, The Wet Spots, Mockstar. Oh God, I don't have enough fingers on my hand to go through the list of people that you've played with. What are some of the other ones that you've been in?
Man, I don't know if the joke is still floating around, but for a while I always heard he's been in every band other than Austin Healey and Lamont Cranston. I don't know if that's entirely true. I mean, you'd rattled off the bulk of the stuff that I was an actual member of.
Gotcha.
Shane from Speed Kings fame. He
and
gave
Shane's
me,
gang.
And Shane's gang, post Speed Kings, yes.
Yes.
He kind of, I would say, I had been in bands all through junior high school.
Yeah.
But he gave me what I would consider my first like big break to be in a band that was doing something other than playing in someone's basement with a few kegs.
Which is fun.
Yes. Yeah. And I did plenty of that. And we can talk about all those bands too. But with Shane and the Wild Weasels,
Okay. Well,
that was like the first time I got to play where it was promoted in the city pages.
Oh,
instead of like
that first city page,
taking a 8x10 flyer from Kinko's and giving the address of whatever 11th grader's house that we were going to be at because their mom and dad were out of town for the weekend.
Those were fun though. Those were really
and
fun.
it was at the Iron Horse, a 2-nighter at the Iron Horse.
Really? That's where you began, huh?
With Shane, yes.
I get it all right. I'm not feeling too good myself. I'm feeling all right. I'm not feeling too good myself.
I would say the first gig of worthy of the city pages.
Yeah. I remember that city pages is kind of like I'm here. You know,
You have arrived.
That was a good time. But you played with a lot of different people. Okay. First off, let's just explain that you are a drummer.
Yes, first and foremost. That's what they pay me to do.
They get yes. You are.
We have
you are,
not every instrument under the sun. I mean, this is not Paisley Park by any stretch, but there are more guitars, bass guitars in this house than there are drum sets.
but there's still a few drum sets, though.
Several, yeah.
Yes.
And there's a keyboard back there. You'll probably get to that, the little home studio. There's a saxophone upstairs.
Really?
Yeah.
Saxophone.
Yeah. My lovely wife, Angel, she plays the sax.
So you guys have some musical stuff that you've been doing. I know I saw a video of you doing a Beatles song.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause I couldn't stand the pain, and I would be mad if I knew love was in vain. So I hope that you see the lyrics. It's a rehearsal.
I mean, as you mentioned, I've been doing this a long time. I've been in many, many, many bands. My lovely wife, Angel, she's in an Irish band that they released. The Kraken is the name of the band.
I thought they actually released a Kraken.
Of course you did. Yeah, those are the thoughts that you have.
That's right. That's why I'm sitting here talking to people.
Right on. No, and we appreciate it, man. So yeah, they play Irish music, and they all have real day jobs.
Okay,
they do for the fun of it, and with St. Patrick's Day coming up, they have plenty of gig. I think they're doing like 6 shows in 4 days.
Wow.
Double dipping a couple times that day. Like they got to play downtown Minneapolis and then race over to, like they're playing on Peter Bourne's boat down in Red Wing.
Oh, really?
I think on the Monday. Yeah, that's kind of.
And that's called Release the Kraken?
Release the Kraken. They've got a website. They're on the Facebook.
What does she do in that
She
band?
plays guitar and sings.
Okay.
I think it's a 7-piece band, 6-piece for sure.
All right.
But yeah, rhythm section, drums, bass. She's on guitar. There's an electric guitarist too. She primarily plays acoustic guitar. Fiddle player.
Okay, yeah. I was waiting for the
She's
fiddle.
She's classically trained violinist.
Okay.
I don't want to make it sound like, Devil went down to Georgia.
It's just
you know.
But
Yeah.
then the Devil Went Down to Georgia would be cool if
So
somebody
yeah,
can play
she's a musician, and that's the band that she's in. As far as what we're doing, you know, being that we're both, you know, musicians and there's so many instruments in this house, we're always making sounds down here. But we just started to venture out into I mean, you've probably seen the snippets online just that end up on the fake book.
Yeah.
Sorry, Zuckerberg, but so yeah, we've posted some snippets of just some loose jamming. We have fun with it, and now it's kind of morphed, or it's in the embryonic stages of becoming Chris Angel.
Yeah.
One word,
Yeah.
and. Look, it's no less magical.
I understand.
It's no less magical than that Paul Stanley looking dude that can do the sleight of hand. And
My wife loves Chris Angel, so
Right.
yeah. So there is no space between the Chris and Angel in this one.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, everybody can.
It's not like
Keep
Chris,
your eye open for
Susan
that.
Angel, like him.
No. Is that his middle name?
I don't know. I just
Wow. I hope so.
I just threw that out.
I don't know if that makes him even more cool or it makes him something though. Yeah.
Chris Susan
It's
Angel.
got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. Like this is, I'm technically not in a band other than the duet with my wife, and a lot of people that are going to be watching this or listening to this are going to be hard pressed to believe it. Is Greg Absey, if you are going to be checking this, because that young man, he had the pleasure of like booking me 5 nights a week.
Okay.
Because, you know, I was always in at least 2 bands.
Yeah.
And then I was willing to sub with anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
I could list a bunch of names. Kurt he now works for Hairball, but his blues band Pork Chop.
Okay.
Yeah, I subbed with them a lot.
So you kind of go through a gamut of different styles of music too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a rock guy for the most part, but I've done. Are you hip to Steve Clark? Speaking of saxophones, his
Nope.
band, the Working Stiffs.
Nope, not my thing.
Yeah, he's got his own thing in town, but he played sax with Shane in the Wild Weasels.
Oh, okay.
And he's got his own band, and you know, they play ballroom dancing, like big band music. And I've sat with them, not anytime recently, but yeah, I've done that
Through the years, yeah.
little jazz trios. We did I think it was with Brian Zemniak on keys.
Mm-hmm.
This is so many years ago. It was whenever the NHL, the All-Star game was here. So we were doing like dinner music downtown. This was some soiree in downtown Minneapolis, probably for.
You know, it could be 5 years and 20 years, and it's going to be the same amount of time in my head to me because I remember Kenner was doing something for that too.
Sure.
Kenner was playing bass in some.
Yeah, I mean, it
thing
was a
at
big
the
thing
Excel.
for the Twin Cities to host, you know,
Yeah.
not like the Super Bowl, but it was still pretty big.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, when something like that comes up, I can play jazz. I have no problem with traditional grip, you know.
Yeah.
But at the core of all this, I'm a rock guy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. And you've done Chasing Ovation.
Yeah.
And
Yep, I was a member of that, the Prince tribute for 6 years.
Oh,
maybe
really?
7.
Okay.
And I wasn't even the original drummer. Damn near though. I think they had played 1 or 2 shows before I, got involved with that. Like I said, so many bands.
So many bands, so many different styles, but
Yeah.
what fired you up to actually say, I want to start hitting things,
You
and
know-
I want to hit them in a specific way?
That's a great question. I think a lot of kids start hitting stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why toys get broken.
Yep.
And
The couch, the ice
so
cream
I was no
bucket.
different. Yeah. And I mean, I was so young. I was like 3 years old. So it's like
When you started playing?
I think there's a photo of it in the because you wanted me to gather up the
Yeah.
stuff for your montage.
Yeah.
There's one in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was 3, and much like I do now in the house that I own, like when I was living with my parents, my dad made a little drum room in the basement, and I would just go down and play. I mean, my dad plays a little bit of guitar. He's never pursued it other than enjoying. You know, he's never been in a band.
Yeah.
Or gigged outside of. He's never gigged, but he plays guitar. And my mom could sing, but they both loved music. So there was we were listening to all kinds of stuff at all times, and then I could go to either of my grandparents. You know, mom's side was from Prior Lake. My dad's side, you know, they're here in Minneapolis, but there would be, you know, Uncle Robbie on my dad's side is like blasting ELO or stuff that I wasn't
Steely
necessarily
Dan
into,
and,
but you know, I'm getting exposed to it. And then out in Prior Lake, other stuff that I wouldn't listen to, like the Moody Blues was a pretty big thing out there. And I'm just like, what else do you got? But the big one for me out in Prior Lake, and that was my Aunt Robin. If anyone wants some
Rockin' Robin
hardcore music trivia, okay. But Uncle Bruce, Robin's younger brother, had a copy of Destroyer by Kiss.
Get up, everybody's gonna move their feet. Get down, everybody's gonna leave their seat.
And I think it was hot off the press. So what was that, 76?
76, yeah.
So I'm at this point, I'm like 5 going on
75,
6.
76, yeah.
I'm, you know, if it was December, I'm a December baby. So I was probably 5 years old. And that did it.
Yeah.
Now, I was already drumming, but then I was like, how am I going to do this and get to be like Paul Stanley, though? Because you know what I mean? Like, people that are in the Beatles, the generation before us, you were either like a Lennon guy or a McCartney guy, is what I've been told.
Yeah.
I think the same is for kids our age.
It's all Kiss. Yeah.
Yeah, but you were either like a Gene guy or a Paul Stanley guy.
Yeah, I was a Paul Stanley guy, too.
I was a big Paul Stanley guy. Still am.
But you know you don't, that's different instrument. Right?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, again, I can play guitar, but, you know, no one's going to want to hire me to join the band.
You never know. I've been in some that you probably could have.
Yeah, there's footage of me. It's like, oh, breaking the chains. I got this, you guys. And I do. And even like the first part of the solo. And then we go into, you know, I do my own. I put my own stamp on things. It's from my schooling, you know. You got to learn, you know, if you want to play the wrong notes, you got to learn the right ones first, man. And I get it, you know. You know it. There's only 12 possible notes, you know. 8 of which you can play in any key signature.
I've made up a few. Q is one of my favorite notes that I use.
I know it. But yeah, the 4 that you're not supposed to play within said key signature, I'm not afraid to go there.
Yes. And so that brings us to, you are an educated musician as well.
Sure. I took lessons as a kid. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but it was the drum shop downtown, Thompson Dahlgren.
Oh, where Todd from Dumpster Juice and Dave Yeager worked there? Right across from Schmidt, kind of?
I was like 5 years old. So, yeah, it was yes.
So that would have been, that would have been Todd from, I can't remember his last name,
but
from Swinging Teens and Dumpster Juice, and then Dave Yeager was also the guy that worked there.
And I can't remember the gentleman that I studied with. But as far as like, you know, my education in this, that's what happened first. And I didn't study there very long. I was just too young for it, and the teacher was he's old.
Okay, I gotcha.
And real, you know, we're going to work out of this book, and you're going to use traditional grip. And I'd already been playing matched grip for a long time.
Are we playing what now? What's it called?
Well, the sticks they match. So
okay, okay.
It's like a primate grabbing a wooden dowel.
Yep.
Not the. Should grab
where you got it like up. Yeah. We'll have to do that.
You have to do that like when you're using brushes and whatnot. But as far as with sticks, that's a personal preference thing. And I use it a little bit. It depends on what I'm playing, but for the most part, I am matched grip. Okay. Again, personal preference. But that's where the education thing started, was taking a few lessons downtown there. And
so
then,
and you're 5 at this time.
Yeah.
So you're 5. You've already taken drum lessons.
Yeah, I took a handful down there.
You've heard Destroyer.
And yeah, but now dig this. Now, shortly thereafter, I was no more than like 7. You remember the Piedmont? It's in. I got a good
Piedmont
picture of it for you.
Hotel?
No, man. The house on the corner, 500 East 27th Street, where all those parties were. The house that I grew up in as a kid, and then moved back into as an adult.
Okay.
And we started behaving like kids again. So, as a child living at 500 East 27th Street, right across from Honeywell there, which is now Wells Fargo.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Corner lot, immediately next door to us, another duplex. I can't remember what floor they lived on, but it was the band Flamingo, which ended up becoming the Flamin' O's.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I had them as immediate next door neighbors. And as bad as that neighborhood was, no one locked their doors. It was probably just the era still, you know what I'm saying? So I'd hear a live band, I'd walk in, and, hey, come on in, Christopher.
Yeah.
So again, just being around music, whether Uncle Bruce's Kiss album or my dad cranking Led Zeppelin or Cream, my mom cranking Joni Mitchell. Now there's a band next door.
It's almost
so
like
then
you
I
were
realized
guided
it's
right
like
into it.
They don't need to be like rock stars. Like this is happening in my own neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that made me think about like, well, what else is going on locally? Yeah. And my dad, speaking of Lamont Cranston, he was a big fan of that band.
Yep.
And they actually had an album that they put out.
Upper Mississippi Shakedown.
Got it. Yep. So that was, he probably still owns that on vinyl. Mm-hmm. That was going on. So I thought, okay, cool. What are these local bands that are, currently happening or had been happening? And Jigsley and Kane. When I first heard Kane, I lost my mind.
You are the second person to bring up Kane, and I don't know who they are.
The Twin Cities version of Van Halen.
Okay, yeah, because it was Bill Lindsay brought up the same thing. He said there was nothing like them.
I can't remember the guitarist's name. I think his first name was Lloyd, maybe Floyd. I never met these guys.
Oh, okay.
I did meet Jigs years later. He was doing like a Fragile reunion at the State Fair. And I think he was talking to like Joe Suchere at the KSTP booth or something. Because Suchere used to be in bands when he was younger, before he was an on-air guy.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Kane was mind-blowing. And you can YouTube it if you want to when you're doing the editing of this. Mm-hmm. Pipe in Queen of the Night is the name of the song by Kane.
Queen of the night.
Oh my God, I'm so surprised that I haven't.
Dude, it's gonna blow your head off. You're not gonna believe how cool it is. And that was right here in town.
And they were primarily a St. Paul band, from what Bill was saying.
I believe so.
And
so but I mean, 7 years old. It's like
exactly. Well,
I didn't have that good of a fake ID. That came when I was like 18. I had to wait a bit.
It's like you're 7.
Locally, I'm getting off track a little bit. Lessons wise, Thompson Dahlgren downtown, Flamingo next door, which morphed into the Flamin' O's, and eventually they moved out. But oddly enough, another band moved in that. I think it was just roommates that all played different instruments, so there was just a jam house.
Yep.
They weren't out gigging, but still right next to my house, there's a drum set, there's a guitar, there's a bass, there's a keyboard, microphones.
And you're 18 at this point?
No, I'm still a kid. At
Oh.
this point, I was probably 9 or 10.
Oh my God.
Because, I mean, we stayed in that house forever. The Piedmont, right on the
Yeah.
corner. The house next door, damn near identical duplex.
Yeah.
We lived there and would rent out the upstairs. I don't know who owned the joint next door, but it was always renters on upstairs and downstairs, which means they were coming and going
Yep.
more often than we didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I ended up moving out of there when I was my mom and dad got a divorce, like everybody does, right?
50% at least.
It's got to be higher.
Yeah. I added to that.
So I went with my mom and moved to 43rd and Pleasant. So I would have stayed there, and I had already gone to I went to Hans Christian Andersen Elementary, straight up the street, straight up 27th Street. It's probably on like 12th Avenue.
Okay.
Just past Abbott Northwestern Hospital and not quite to Sears.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that'd be
it's still there. The school's
12,
still there.
something like that. Yeah.
So that school opened my kindergarten year, and I went there K through 6. And at this point, my parents were already divorced, but they were trying to like still kind of live together and plan their split. And I got my younger sister Melissa. She's 4 years younger than me, so I was probably old enough to kind of handle it. But it's like that 80s mentality of like, well, we don't want the kids to turn out all messed up. We should stay. We'll do the paperwork then and get a divorce and stay living together. No one does that anymore. That's not the right thing to do.
It's not the right thing
Now,
to do.
now dig it. I'm a huge advocate for like stay together, stay married. I'm not like, it's if you want, it just you don't dig or just get a divorce.
That's right. You don't
Don't
like the
do
same
it.
TV shows.
But I understand
Get
that
out.
it does have to happen, and they did it, and they stayed together for a bit, thinking it'd be better for the kids.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that it was. I don't know that it was worse. It's just that's what happened, and I turned out okay. My sister turned out great. I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
But I don't think I was scarred from that. But anyways, because of that separation, I moved to 43rd and Pleasant. I had just gone to, I got out of Hans Christian Andersen Elementary. I'd already gone to the kind of orientation at what would, for me, it would have been Falwell Junior High.
Okay. All right.
And then, I went into Bemidji for the last maybe 10 days, 2 weeks of my final summer break before the school year was going to start. My dad came up to pick me up. That's a good 5-hour drive back to Minneapolis. And he's like, just so you know, you're going to be going to Anthony Junior High. And this was like 2 days before school starts.
Oh, really?
And I said, well, hold on a second. What is Anthony? I'd never even heard of it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's on 58th and Irving.
That's part of the Washburn.
And I'm thinking,
yeah.
What is that? Like growing up on 27th and 5th, I didn't really go past 35W unless I was going with the electric fetus.
Okay.
Like, why would you go like, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to, picture. I'm moving to 43rd and Pleasant. That was already weird enough, but I knew what Pleasant Avenue was by way of the Whittier neighborhood. Irving. I don't know, man. Is that like in the middle of Lake of the Isles? Like if you live where I lived and you keep going that far west, is there an Irving Avenue? I don't know about that. Once you get into the suburbs, I mean, it was still South Minneapolis, but we're so close to Richfield.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe
Which is my place.
Anthony is on 57th and Irving Avenue, I believe.
Yeah, so just off of in between Penn and Lindale there.
So yeah, but Susan B. Anthony, I thought that was like $1 that looked like a quarter.
It is.
That was still a new coin for me. I didn't know that was a middle school, but that's how I found out. So yeah, I moved to 43rd and Pleasant, went to Susan B. Anthony for junior high, 7th and 8th grade, and then went to Washburn. And I was still serious about drums through junior high. I had a drum set in the basement at
Were you in band?
in Pleasant. Yes, absolutely.
You were in percussion?
K through 6, we just had music class.
Okay.
No one really had an instrument. I think they may have passed out a recorder a couple times, and you could play hot cross buns or something like that. And then we're doing like a lot of rhythm exercises, like can you clap on 2 and 4 and like stomp on 1 and 3?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I hope so. Can we swing by? Let's go on a field trip to my house. I'd like to play the opening bars of When the Levee Breaks. Of course I can clap on 2 and 4. I'm playing a drum set. Not that I was like this virtuoso or like, look at this child prodigy, but it's like, yes, I can clap on 2 and 4. I've taken some drum lessons and I play drums when I get out of school.
Yeah.
That's what before the bowl of cereal, when I get in the door, I'm going to grab some drumsticks. Yeah. So same thing happened when we moved to Pleasant, when I moved in went with my mom. I then did take band. That was offered in 7th grade. Mr. Sandine. I had him for junior high band, 7th and 8th grade. And as a drummer, we didn't really, you just sit there.
You do the snare, right?
With 5 minutes left to go, as 4th hour is ending, because it's like, you just be, listening to these, the brass section, horrifically out of tune. Same with the woodwinds. And they're, it's like, we're going to do like just a major scale, like they're tuning. And I'm thinking, how does it take 20 minutes and you're still not even in tune. So yeah, then at the end of 4th hour, I believe it was, we'd bust out our Hal Leonard book. I think I still have it back there. We'll go through there.
Okay.
I'll show you some of the.
Perfect.
But we'd get to play drums for like 5 minutes. Play line 22 on page 17. Just sheet music. Some type of cadence, sprinkling a 5-stroke. Double stroke roll, 9-stroke, double stroke roll. All the rudiments and putting them into a piece of music. But we weren't performing as an ensemble or as like a high school band, junior high.
Yep.
9th grade, it all changed. I get to Washburn High School, and what was it? What do they call when you pick your electives? Tally day.
Okay.
So you go to the lunchroom, or we did at Washburn anyways.
Yeah.
And it's like, here, this is your homeroom. Here, your locker number is on this floor, and it's locker number, blah, 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 blah. Here's your combination for your and what do you want to pick for electives? And I was like, well, I was taking Spanish and band in junior high, and they're like, you can't take both. And I'm like, this is something new because you could, because I was. Yeah. And that's what I want to take. And they're like, one or the other. I'm like, well, you don't know who I am, but all y'all is about to find out. I'm taking band then. So that was that. And they're like, okay, you can go, you get your schedule together, your itinerary for what you have for your school, what's going to end up being your school day. Yep. Go meet this teacher, go meet that teacher, go and meet my band teacher, Mr. Rufino Ochoada. That is right out of high school, or I'm sorry, college. So it's like, I'm coming out of a junior high band, Mr. Sandine. I don't know where he is today, but I'm probably safe to say, God rest his soul. Yeah. I doubt he's still with us because he was like 800 years old when I was in 7th grade, man. So now I meet Rufino Ochoada. This dude changed my life. Really? And we'll get into it. But first and foremost, I'm 9th grade, so I'm like 14, maybe 15. I can't remember how that works. 14. 9th grade
is 14 if you're young side, 15 if you're older
I probably
side.
Was both during that school year at some point. Mm-hmm. So here's this dude right out of college. So he's got to be like 24.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Did his college stint to become a music teacher or a school teacher, and specifically music. I'm striking gold, man. It's like, you're the band. So you're my band teacher. You're 24 years old, and your primary instrument isn't a horn or like a violin. I can't believe this. You're a drummer?
Oh, really?
Yes,
so he was a drummer. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But obviously, to become a band teacher, he could play sax. We had a piano in the band room. He was also the choir teacher at Washburn for the first 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So this was polar opposite of Susan V. Anthony, like arriving at Washburn. And I really, like all the stuff that I had learned leading up to that, I only had him for 9th and 10th grade because then he ended up getting a different gig. He went to, I think, North St. Paul. Okay. And then, or maybe it was South St. Paul. And then ended up in another school, not in Minneapolis. He's retired now. Oh, well, we'll get to this. Eventually ended up at Simley High School, and the guy ended up hiring me to be the drum teacher there.
Oh, my God.
I was giving private lessons under the band teacher at Simley, the dude that was my band teacher in 9th and 10th grade.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I don't want to get too far ahead of this and that. But while at Washburn, I had him for 9th and 10th grade. And I learned so much from this guy about obviously drums, but music in general, you know. I always knew like who Buddy Rich was. Any drummer should.
Yep.
And other dudes of that vibe, you know, Gene Krupa, Louis Bellson. I knew who these cats were.
Yeah.
And I could respect and appreciate what they were doing. And
Yeah.
I was in awe of it. But it wasn't like, I really dig this.
Yeah.
I started to more so because of Rufino Ochiwata, Mr. Ochiwata. Mr. O, if it's too... But he turned me on to some other stuff, too, that... Like, I knew about Steely Dan, but I didn't really appreciate the drumming of, like, Steve Gadd or Jeff Porcaro. Like, I just would hear Donald Fagen, and it's like, Ricky, don't lose that number. What if Ricky does lose that number?
What about Chevy Chase?
And what number is... Okay, that's... Sure, there's that.
Chevy Chase started out with the Steely Dan guys.
True. Yes. I think they were more into like marijuana.
That's my little curveball I just threw
no,
right at you.
I was aware of that. I'd like to hear what they got accomplished, though. But anyway, other than like, I just successfully sold a dime bag of marijuana. Good for you, Chevy. So yeah, Rufino got me hip to stuff like Steely Dan and more so the drummers.
Okay.
Not so because I still wasn't. I'm not even a Steely fan to this day, but I'm not like I can't stand the sound of the band.
Yeah.
I was, you know,
So
at
that's
this
not
point I'm
your
14
thing.
years old and the hair metal thing is just blossoming out of, you know, LA.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, as much as, you know, he's like, well, here, you really need to get hip to David Garibaldi and Tower of Power. I'm like, you need to realize that there's this dude named Tommy Lee and he has two bass drums. But when we found a way to meet in the middle, he's like, well, here, you know, if you want to get down with, you know, stuff like that, you got to check out like Black Oak, Arkansas. Are you hip to Tommy Aldridge? I'm like, I don't know what Black Oak, Arkansas is. But yeah, he plays with Ozzy Osbourne. You know, I already seen the Bark at the Moon tour.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
At the Met Center.
Yeah. Yes, sir. With who was
Motley
the opening
Crue.
act for that? Yeah, you're right. It was. Yeah, it was.
And I was really sad because I thought it was Randy Rhoads that played on that tour, but
Okay.
it was Jakey Lee.
Yeah. Great show though, man.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
So we got to meet in the middle with stuff like that. As far as like, you know, double bass. I was a huge Tommy Aldridge guy. Like that. He was one of my major influences as far as like rock stars. Going back, you know, Kiss was the big band, but I was kind of, and I still do. No offense for the super fans that are out there, but it's like, even at 6 years old, you know, having listened to like Ian Pace from Deep Purple, and obviously, you know, John Bonham, the Zeppelin thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, these dudes. Mitch Mitchell from the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Oh my God.
Phenomenal drummer. Okay, so
How did he keep that together? Honestly,
dude,
With
that
everything-
trio. Now, I was a big Cream. Again, my dad, big Clapton guy, but Ginger Baker. I mean, a guy like Ian Pace or Mitch Mitchell,
Yeah.
mopping the floor. Ginger Baker. I don't know if it was just probably too much heroin. Just smacked out
It's
of
like
his gourd.
they were just like a half a second ahead of everybody else when something was coming their way.
So I dug the band. I thought Jack Bruce was, God rest his soul, monster bass player. He was the coolest part of Cream. You know, and that was like the first super group. Like they were Whitesnake before Whitesnake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seriously, because you got, you know, Clapton from Blind Faith, and to me, Jack Bruce was, you know, I knew who Eric Clapton was from the stuff that he did, Yardbirds.
Yep.
And then Blind Faith was what he did next with Ginger Baker was on drums in that, and they had who's the guy Higher Love did the duet with Shaka Khan, Steve Winwood.
Yeah.
He was the vocalist and keyboardist in Blind Faith.
Oh really? Okay.
But I didn't really get into that so much. I did dig Cream because of Jack Bruce. And some other cool stuff too. Jeff,
and that comes from your dad?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I got you.
So, you know, when we're going to fast forward now to like, you know, in 83, because this is getting back to Rufino Chiwata, Ozzy Osbourne, you know, Tommy Aldridge. Rufino's talking about Black Oak, Arkansas. I'm like, well, what about Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, you know, Black Sabbath. I'm like, well, no, not Sabbath. And I was a huge Sabbath guy, too. Still am.
Yeah.
But I never thought Bill Ward was like this amazing drummer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still don't. But that's just personal preference.
Yeah.
He's probably a great guy. I don't know him. But, so, yeah, the double bass thing was in full swing because of the hair metal scene erupting from the Los Angeles era. And I thought Tommy Lee was a good drummer. I still do. But I dug Motley Crue in general. You know,
Yeah.
I just
that
thought it
whole
was
attitude. That attitude was crazy.
the Looks That Kill album is and I have a pristine copy of it in there on vinyl. I'll bust that out for you.
Yep.
Um,
You mean Shout at the Devil, or do you mean Too Fast for Love?
well, I know that came out first, but
Too Fast for Love came out
I
first.
discovered. I went back. The only reason I knew about Too Fast for Love is because I went out and bought Shout at the Devil.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I saw those guys open for Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, this is the greatest. This is going to be the biggest thing in the history of rock and roll.
I remember thinking, how can music ever get harder than this? And
Well,
then I heard Metallica, and then yeah.
And oddly enough, and I don't want to spend too much time on Motley Crue, but I remember thinking, this is the coolest thing ever, and nothing will ever be cooler than this.
Yeah.
And then they put out Theater of Pain, and I was a little taken back, and I thought, okay, now we're getting into MTV, and this is a cute video, smoking in the boys' room,
Yeah.
bad cover. I didn't like
Yeah.
the original. I didn't like their rendition, the cover.
Yeah.
But Home Sweet Home, it's like, okay, I don't want to say you guys are selling out, but you got to have your. I mean, maybe they invented that. Like, we have to have the power ballad. That may have been the first one. I don't know. There were love songs.
Yeah.
But I thought, because I was still such a fan of Motley Crue, and I'm thinking, okay, they had to appease the label, or they want to make the big money, and they did it. Now we can get back to business. And wasn't it Girls, Girls, Girls next?
Yep.
And then I thought, I was wrong. It's over.
Yeah.
And it has been ever since for me.
Yep. Except for that one with
John Corabi?
No. The one with Primal Scream on it. That's not horrible.
What is that? The like Saints of Los Angeles or
Something
something?
newer. Something from
I
like
don't know,
after
man.
'94.
I didn't get into it.
Yeah.
But thanks to like Tommy Aldridge, Tommy Lee, this was another groundbreaking thing for me. Was I was in 10th grade at the time. Someone had a cassette. It was either Dan Monahan, my guitarist at the time,
I remember Dan.
or Derek Russell, who was our bass player.
Derek, yes.
Yeah.
Him and now Brett or whatever, little Bob came
Yeah,
over
yeah.
when we were doing like, Night Ranger and stuff, and they're like, yeah, okay.
Brett lived, when I was on 43rd and Pleasant, he lived on
Mm-hmm.
40th and Grand. And I'd go to this little convenience store, Marty's. It's right on the
Okay.
corner, a little 5 and dime thing.
Yeah.
And I could hear this. I thought it was George Lynch
Oh, he's crazy.
in the upstairs
He's
bedroom.
so
That's when I
good.
met him. I knocked on the door. I'm like, I just need to know who's here and who's doing that, because like, you're in my neighborhood, man. You know?
Yeah.
You're real close to 43rd and Pleasant. You're on my turf. So that's how I got to meet him.
Okay. Okay, and go back. I'm sorry.
But he
I
was
heard-
either homeschooled or maybe he ended up going to Holy Angels, because he lived Washburn's right up the street, man. He didn't
Yeah.
go to Washburn, but a lot of the dudes that he was with did. Kevin Franson went to Washburn before
Yep.
I did,
Yep.
and he had Kevin was Brett's drummer.
Yep.
It was Bob at the time, Petrusik.
Yep.
But here's another monstrous player that went to Washburn, guitarist Jason Cameron.
Oh my God! From Code Blue with
Yes.
him and
Todd
Todd
Lund.
Lund. Oh my God!
That was the original Racer X, or at least this town's. If Kane was Van Halen, Code Blue was Racer X.
They were so good.
Sick.
I saw him.
The band
at
was sick.
Nibs. At
Attaboy.
Nibs. They
Yeah.
did a weekend. I was there both
Yep.
nights. Jason Cameron and Todd Lund, and then I want to say Steve was their drummer, the dude with the super poofy hair that was originally an employer with Bruce.
Oh gosh, I know who you're talking about, but I'm too young to. That's going back. The Employers. I mean, sure.
Yeah. Well, you played with Bruce, so
Yes,
it's
sir.
like, yeah.
Yes, sir. So,
Anyways, but-
yeah, the double bass thing was in full swing, and then I heard Racer X
Yeah.
in 10th grade, and that Scott Travis, he kind of was the next Tommy Aldridge for me as far as like getting my feet together, like trying to learn the instrumental Scarified off that.
I don't
the second
know
album.
Racer X that
You're gonna
well.
have to YouTube this stuff, man. Scarified is that
It's
was the
not-
first
it's-
song I ever heard by him. It's an
It's not
instrumental.
going to buy the album anymore. You're gonna have to YouTube it.
Right. Yeah. True enough. True enough.
I'm gonna stop by No
Sure.
Name and look it up.
Right on. Right on. You do that. So yeah, that was that, right? And now I stayed at Washburn, and I had two different band teachers, one in 11th grade, one in 12th grade. And it really wasn't, it was nothing compared to Mr. O. And how could it be? Because they were not drummers.
Okay.
And they weren't just as good of a band teacher either. But it was still band, and I was still interested in music, so I stayed on board. I kept playing. Mm-hmm. And now it's time to graduate. And it's like, well, what am I going to do? So the first thing I did, I didn't go right to any type of college or post high school education. I worked for a year for Elements Furniture. So I got these guys lifting sleeper sofas.
You know, I got to back you up for a quick second. Did you play in the jazz ensemble when you were in the band? Did you do full kit percussions, or did you just play primarily in the band stuff?
Okay, with Ruffino, he tried to put that together. Mm-hmm. Again, I only had him for Mr. O for 9th and 10th grade.
Yeah.
But our band was not a lot of people were choosing that as an elective. It was a pretty small band just to get our concert band together.
Okay.
To get people to try to stay after school and join jazz band. Mm-hmm. You know, we had like a quartet. And I did it. I tried it a little bit, but it wasn't a popular thing at Washburn.
I got you.
So it didn't happen. And then when he left in 11th and 12th grade, we did not have a jazz band.
Oh, okay. All right. Because
didn't
that's where a
happen.
lot of our in Richfield, like Steve Grayfinger.
Kevin Washington is a local drummer. His dad, Donald Washington, was my band teacher after Mr. O. He attempted to do a jazz band, but it wasn't what you'd think of as traditional high school jazz band. It was way more like free jazz. Mm-hmm. And I gave it a shot a little bit, but I wasn't connecting with it. And he ended up not being there. I don't know what happened to him, but my senior year, I can't even remember the guy's name. Whatever the band teacher was, he ended up leaving to go to Hutchinson, which moot point because now I'm graduating from high school.
Yep.
I took a year off and just worked and worked and worked.
But before you graduated from high school,
yes,
you're royalty at Washburn.
It has nothing to do with music, but sure.
It doesn't have anything to do with music, but it is
okay,
you.
Yeah.
You were the homecoming king at
Yes.
Washburn. Yes, I even knew that over in Richfield.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like, wait a minute, they voted in a long-haired dude at Washburn for homecoming king. It was cool. You guys were then the rocking school. That was what we got from our
Roosevelt was always like Charlie Ogdahl.
Well, yeah, but you guys had
Mark
Tyler,
Crenhott.
right? You had Tyler.
Yes, he was younger than me.
You had
absolute shredder.
Yes,
a great musician.
Yep, and then you got the homecoming king. So imagine the Richfield guy sitting there going, "So it's cool to have long hair over in Washburn there." And just so anybody knows, Washburn and Richfield, you could literally hit a golf ball between the two of them, but they're two different cities. Washburn is Minneapolis, and Richfield is its own city. So.
Yeah. Yeah, by way of Crosstown.
Yes, we are separated
that's
by Crosstown, and so you would go take your bicycle and go across.
Richfield Spartans.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Washburn's.
The Millers.
The Miller. What the heck is a Miller? Like the bug?
Flour mill. Flour. Oh man.
Okay. Wow. But yeah, so then you were the homecoming king, and so that resonated even over to us because it was like, wait a minute,
because
so
I had to go to homecoming when I was in 13th grade because I was dating Chrissy Santos.
Oh, from Richfield.
Yes.
So there was a lot of that. There
The
was a lot of
homecoming king made a
crossover.
return to a different campus.
There was a lot of crossover. You know, Scott Dreckert and Tammy Berglund.
Sure.
There's stuff like
man.
that.
So yeah. Are we done going back to that?
No, you don't like that part, do you?
No, I'm cool with that. Those were good times. And it, oddly enough, that was a cool segue because that brought me back to, I moved back to the Piedmont when I got out of high school, and I was just working for a year, and I thought, what am I going to do? I was living at the Piedmont. Chrissy Santos, actually, she was class of 1990, so you're younger than me. So she moved in to the Piedmont. She was, we were living boyfriend-girlfriend for a while there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and just Chrissy was the friend of Jill McCusick, who was my best friend was Tom McCusick.
Yep.
So I was at their house.
Right.
I mean, that's where we always hung out, was over at the McCusick
11th
house.
Avenue or whatever?
13th.
13th? Sure,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sure. There was a lot of parties over there, man. Just that whole hood.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yep.
Anyways, So yeah,
So you
I
moved
took a
in-
year off and was working, and then I thought, what am I going to do? At that point, I'm in a band with. I bought like my first double bass kit. I had a drum set with a double pedal because I had to, again, Tommy Aldridge, now Scott Travis.
Yep. Now, were you playing in bands at that time?
Yeah, I was gigging around a little bit in high school. Dan Monahan, Derek Russell,
Yep.
Steve Hellevick was our bass player as well.
Derek?
Jack Fladwood was our vocalist.
Okay.
And then
Jack.
eventually,
Yes.
and then
I remember
Dave
Jack.
Evans replaced him. He went on to be in like Alley Cat Sally. He was playing the Mirage and stuff.
Okay. Derek went on to play with Prince, didn't he?
I don't know. I know he spent a long time with Junior's band West Side.
Okay.
He's playing
All
bass
right.
in West Side.
All right.
Phenomenal bass player. Derek
Oh yeah,
Russell.
God!
Yeah.
I just remember that they came in and they sat down because we had a keyboard player,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a keyboard player and drummer, and they played Rush YY.
Why was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was like
Wait, were you going to be able to finish that? Or were you going to be like, why?
I couldn't remember if it was T or C, and so but I know, you know what I mean. And they started
Sure.
playing that, and I was like, "Hey, you guys are on high school? What the heck?"
Sure.
And so I just stood off in the
Yeah, yeah.
corner. It's like because I was trying to be a singer at that time.
There were a lot of good players that came out of
my
the Washburn thing.
God.
I was blown away.
That was like so many.
So as far as Richfield wanting to check out what Washburn was doing, we had the same thing with Roosevelt.
Gotcha.
So I went to their talent show, and that's where I first saw Charlie Ogdahl. And
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this
Yeah.
guy's nuts.
Yeah.
Good player too, but I was more intrigued by how bonkers he was, man. And Mark Krinhop was their singer, and I believe the drummer's name was Mark Albrecht at the time.
Okay.
Cool dude.
He'd been like 90s, right? Early 90s. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Sullivan was in the later 80s. So
Yeah,
so-
I dare say mid 90s even, but no, I suppose early. But anyway,
yeah.
so what I did next was put in that year of work, and what I was doing was I bought that drum set with the first time I had 2 bass drums. Okay,
Yeah.
bought it from Newt Capet,
Nut cup. Yep.
and the salesman's name was Dave Pinsky, and he was the drum guy. He worked the drum department. That John Haga, Bongo Johnny.
Okay.
Either did he have it before him or after him? I can't remember.
The
so
only thing
many
I
years
remember
ago.
about Nut Cup is going downstairs and they had that drum set that had that weird oblong bass drum.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the name of the manufacturer of that.
Yeah. But you know what I'm talking
Trixon or Flixon or something.
Just
yeah.
weird. Just weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird looking. It's like how are you gonna buy a head for that thing?
Have fun tuning it.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's where I bought my first kind of a modern kit for that era.
Yeah.
2 bass drums, 2 rack toms, 2 Floortron, 2 China types like satellite dishes.
Yeah.
I had to be like Tommy Aldridge, a little bit of Terry Bozzio with the Chinas,
Gotcha.
Missing Persons, drummer. He's done a bunch of other stuff too, but you'd probably know him from Missing Persons primarily.
Yeah.
But the salesman was Dave Pinsky, and he was the owner of Gark Studios, recording studio,
Oh, yeah.
off
Yeah.
of like 44th and just west of Hiawatha Avenue.
Yeah.
So I knew him. He was the salesman at Newt Capet, and I'm the customer.
Yeah.
And I dropped $3,000 on this huge drum set and all these Peisty cymbals and this and that. And he knew I could play a little bit because I'm down there playing stuff when I'm not buying stuff.
Yeah.
To the point where they're like, quit playing stuff unless you're going to buy something. It's no different now at Guitar Center.
No, it's not.
They're a little more tolerable because it's like, put on the headphones, you're on the rolling V. You know what I mean? And it's a way bigger room than the basement of Newt Capet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So he knew of me, and he was in a band. They were putting a band together called Rocket Holiday. It was Dale Steele on vocals.
Oh, Dale from Give. Yeah.
Yes, Johnny Holiday.
Yeah.
was-
Johnny Holiday
was
from
the guitarist. Hence
The Hype right
Rocket-
now.
Currently in the Hype. So he's like a brother to me. I met him through Dave Pinsky, and it's like they needed a drummer. Like they're recording demos and stuff at Gark, Dave's studio,
Okay.
with a drum machine. They gave me the cassette tape, and I'm like, "This is a pretty good band."
Take the pencil and roll it up.
I'm digging this, yeah, for sure. And I went over there and jammed, and I ended up getting the gig, and it snowballed into so much stuff because it's like, okay, I was moving furniture for Elements at the time, and I joined this band, and I've made the decision. It's like I'm not going to move furniture forever. I'm not going to do this. I wanted to go to what at the time was Music Tech of Minneapolis, just down the road from me, man. I could just hop on my motorcycle and get there because I'm living at the Piedmont. I moved back, so I'm back on 27th and 5th now as an adult, behaving as a child. And Music Tech at the time was on Washington Avenue, like right by J.D. Hoyt's, right across the street from J.D. Hoyt's.
Everybody says that. Right by
It's a fancy way of saying it was across the street from the strip club.
By
Yeah.
Vu.
Dude, for the record, I said the steakhouse.
That's everybody says that.
All right, I know.
Everybody says J.D. Hoyt's. I'm always like deja vu.
No, you're right.
That's who's going to actually know that stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay. J.D. Hoyt's is still there, whatever it's worth.
Deja vu is too.
Okay,
Same
man.
girls.
Moving on. So, I went to school there, and the head of that department was Gordy Knudsen, Steve Miller Band drummer.
Oh, okay. All right.
He wasn't there very often. He would do like these master classes, but he was more in charge of the percussion department.
Okay.
My day-to-day teachers were phenomenal, and I learned it was like Rufino all over again. Paul Stuber, some pronounce it Stieber, amazing teacher, amazing drummer. Jesse Wheeler, he did a lot of stuff out at Brian Bart's Logic Studios.
Yep.
Out in Wayzata there.
Yep.
He was in the Outsiders, one of Brian Bart's bands.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot he was in that one.
Monster players, instrumental.
I know him from Dare Force. So yeah.
Absolutely,
and I recorded that.
This
Logic
was post
as well.
Dare Force.
Yeah.
The Outsiders. If you can get, I know it's on cassette, but if
maybe it's
I'll
on YouTube.
find my cassette and you can make me a CD.
I still gotta put the belts
there's
on.
some stuff on YouTube. John Purtle on bass, insane.
Wow.
The whole band was insane. So yeah, I went to Music Tech 1 year, and Jesse Wheeler from the Outsiders, he was one of my instructors, Dave Stanek, who is still teaching. He's got a great online program thing going on.
Is he a drum teacher?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Great teacher and great musician. I learned a ton from these cats. Graduated top of my class, which was as shocking as becoming homecoming king at Washington. Like, what are you people doing, voting for this type of stuff? Yeah. And I parlayed that. The first real gig I got was the TV commercial that I gave. I'm lending you on the one arm, the Rick Allen thing, the one arm drummer.
Yeah.
I scored that through there was this modeling agency that was downtown, and they came to our school and they're like, we're looking for like someone that is good looking. They don't need, can they play drums one-handed? And Bob Golombek, he was part of the faculty. He's a bass player, teacher at the time at Music Tech. He rounded up dudes that he thought were good-looking dudes. A couple of cats I didn't even know. One of them that I knew was Kenny, the bass player. He was in Disturbed.
Ken Olsen.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So he was one of the guys that auditioned for it. He ended up getting a magazine photo shoot out of it. He did an ad for DiMarzio or maybe Diodario.
Okay.
Some type of pickups, or I think. Or
Yeah,
could have been
strings
guitar
or
strings or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he got something in like Guitar World or Guitar
Did he have
for
his
the
head
Production
shaved
Musician.
on the sides when he
No,
did it?
no, he had the full-on
beautiful hair.
Soundgarden. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Ken. Okay.
Yeah. We were all doing the Soundgarden thing at this point.
Okay. All right.
Everybody wanted to have hair. Like,
Yep.
no more bangs. Feathered thing was out. My mullet was gone. I looked like Cousin It. It was thick and just bam. So yeah, going to music tech, I scored that. I graduated top of my class, which helped me get noticed by. That's how I got the gig with Shane and the Wild Weasels, because Jesse Wheeler had been doing some gigs with Shane.
Okay.
He was actually Jesse was in kind of the last rendition of the Speed Kings, because that band was kind of falling apart, and Shane went on to. It was a bad split. It was kind of very Van Halen-esque.
Okay.
You know, he went on to do Shane's Gang, and those guys went on to do Box of Rocks.
Oh yeah, I remember
Scott
that.
Herzneck on guitar, monster.
I remember seeing him in the city pages, but I don't remember the
Yep.
band as much.
Yeah, they went on.
I remember
they
Shane's
did not
Gang.
enjoy the success that Shane's Gang did, but it was a killer band. Dave Dahl on drums,
Okay.
Herzneck on guitar. I can't remember the bass player, you know, because I always thought Shane was a front man because of, you know,
His name, yeah.
and the Speed Kings.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I dressed like him for my senior prom. I had the blue jeans and then the long tux jacket. It was a blend of like Steve Perry, Shane. 'Cause I saw him
really?
wearing that. I had a fake ID. I got into the caboose and saw the Speed Kings. and lost my mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was a hero of mine. I get out of music tech. He ends up hiring me
That's
to be his drummer. I
crazy.
couldn't believe it.
That's
I could not
amazing.
believe it.
The monkey is a liar, rolling on the floor. I gotta get some faith, baby, but inside me, yeah. Well, nothing ever lasts inside me, yeah. I'm moving way too fast, yeah. Well, I'm walking in reverse inside me, yeah.
But yeah, Shane, I was a fan because of having seen him with the Speed Kings.
Okay. Yep.
And, you know, when he offered me the gig, Shane and the Wild Weasels, I mean, he had.
So let's just to back up a quick second. So Shane was Speed Kings. Was that his first band, or was he in something else
he
prior
had been
to that?
in- I mean,
or was he was because he was kind of a staple when he did Speed Kings.
His parents were like on the road.
really?
Like, he was playing with like a, you know, Partridge Family type thing.
Really?
Like
okay.
gigging when he was probably 13 or 14. I'd have to ask him. Obviously, I wasn't there, but I've heard of it. I spent so many years with him.
Mhm.
We're still super tight. Like we're like brothers to this day.
Oh, okay. And what's Shane's last name? Just
He just goes by Shane. What's
It's just
Madonna's
Shane.
last name?
He's
He's got a legal name, but he's Shane.
Johnson, Madonna Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's
about-
a girl that I
how about
knew.
Cher?
She went to Roosevelt.
Shane. His name is Shane.
His name is Shane. Yeah, but and he did the Speed Kings, and he did Shane's Gang,
Yes.
and then he went to Shane and the Wild Weasels. Is that where you
Yes.
come into the play?
Yeah. Jim Weber was a guitarist. We had Troy Norton on guitar at some point. I mean, Shane has always managed to surround himself with really good players, and he is a phenomenal frontman, and not a lot of people know it. I didn't at the time from having seen the Speed Kings.
Yeah.
He was just the frontman, but Shane is an insanely good bass player. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then Jim Weber had left that band. He wanted to pursue original music, and I ended up. I didn't like follow him immediately. We replaced him with a couple of different guys. I mentioned Troy Norton. He later on wanted to be with like Tina and the B-Sides.
Oh yeah. Yep.
He's done some other stuff too. I don't know what he's up to these days. And then after him, we had Brent Paschke, who Spy Mob. He's now plays guitar with Pharrell and Nerd or NERD.
Oh,
He's a
okay.
big rock star now. He lives out in the Los Angeles area.
Awesome.
Phenomenal guitarist. You know, Matthew Kirkwald, another phenomenal guitarist. There's a long list of these cats.
Mm-hmm.
But I eventually ended up going to Cloud 9. That was the original project that Jim Weber was kind of spearheading with Aaron Troyan, another Monsters guitarist, but songwriter, lead vocalist. He was from Aaron Troyan. He is the Ian from Sunsenian, the local band they were kind of like, a lot of people come here and Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They actually referred to him as Crosby, Stills, and Bon Jovi, which was not cool. But really good band.
Okay.
They played a lot. 400 Bar, Five Corners, the other bar that was on Cedar Avenue there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was kind of the nucleus of Cloud 9.
And that was an original project?
Yes.
Okay.
We had Eric Longenecker on bass. Great player. Great guitarist, too. We were really kind of into the vocal. It was rock, but kind of Jellyfish would be the most comparable band that people would have been aware of. And we only did a handful of shows. We played the Mirage a couple times, and it was in its twilight. We played Princess Club Glam Slam.
Oh, yes.
Yep. And not too much else. I think we did an alumni thing. Like, will your band come back and play for the kids that are all adults at Music Tech?
Okay, yeah.
They wanted to show it's like, you can become a rock star too.
Yeah.
Look what Chris Lakey did with his life. He's in a band.
Yes, he's playing in front of people.
Right.
And they actually clap when he's done and
Yes.
hoot and things. I'm going to drag you back for just a quick second.
Sure.
There was a large group of people that came out of that Music Tech group.
Sure.
You mentioned Johnny Holiday.
Yes.
Right? And he was a Music Tech guy. And you mentioned Ken Olsen.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a Music Tech guy.
Brent Paschke, the gentleman that was, he went to that school after me, and he's now playing with Pharrell.
Okay.
His band was Spy Mob, and they are the backing band for Pharrell. It's
Okay. So some of the other people that was Jacob Brock part of that too?
he didn't come out of Music Tech.
No, he didn't. He just came with you guys.
Yeah, he was more going back to Charlie Ogdahl. That he was part of. Now Jake was from St. Louis Park. He hung out with everybody from Roosevelt. He ended up being one of Charlie's roommates.
Okay. All right.
The house that was over on 53rd and 36th Avenue.
Yeah, there's so many music. I'm just just something that I was kind of thinking about was all these people that were playing at that point in time, and what a huge. I mean, it was like almost like a sea of musicians. I mean, you already talked about Derek Russell, Kevin Franzen, Bob Petrusek, Todd Lund, Jason Cameron.
Yeah.
Sean Sullivan is a guy that I
Jack
know.
Fladwood, Steve Hellevick, Dave Evans.
Yep. Well, and even like. Lee Sade,
Ted Conniff,
Rich Fleshman.
Yes, sir.
It was just like it was musician after musician after musician,
and all these cats know each other or have worked with each other
at some point in time. Yeah, and it's so cool that that whole mob of people, and for a long time, pretty much. Depending on what night you went out, almost every night of the week, one of these guys was on one of the stages in the Twin Cities. I mean, it was, and Tommy Chase, I mean, it's just so many people that came out of that time frame in that area. It was just between the Washburn Roosevelt area. It was amazing. It
was. Like you said, just the names that we just dropped. It's there's so many dudes that were doing it then.
Yep. And for every name that we dropped, there's 10 others that we didn't. Yeah. That we don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different time. The kids now, I don't know what they're doing. My stepson Henry, he's 12 years old. He digs music, and he can, carry a tune. He can sing, but he's not really interested in like playing any instruments per se, and. I don't know what other kids are doing. You don't really hear about like everybody was in a band. When we were
the whole thing was it was just
and
like,
it started around age 12. That's when I was like, we got to make a band.
I think I was in my mid 40s, but still.
But I don't know. It feels like that is not what's happening anymore. But I don't know. I don't know what the kids are doing.
Well, I remember that there was in the late 90s. there was Rock and Roll Unlimited up in the northern area, and that was a lot of high school kids.
Oh yeah, I remember that
and
place.
you remember the garage was down in Burnsville.
Yeah, I played there.
Okay, and that was a lot of kids.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there is something.
I don't know.
Because with us, it was 7th Street Entry. It was Mirage All Ages. It was...
when I was in Foreign Legion,
even the Caboose would do
I was
some
still in
stuff.
high school, and I got to play, or maybe I think I was still at Washburn, probably my senior year, but Foreign Legion opened for Dare Force at the Pain Reliever.
At the Pain Reliever.
Yeah.
Really? One side was for guys and one side...
Both sides were for me. I walked in to that gig. I was loading in the dancers side, if you will.
Okay, yes.
And I got this bass drum.
The models.
I got this bass drum. You know, I'm carrying it like I'm in marching band, and I'm going straight toward this wall of glass. I can't really see what's going on quite yet, but I'm approaching it, and I'm like, where am I supposed to go? Oh, next door. So I'm going to take a hard right. And as I now don't have a bass drum in front of me, I'm looking at this pane of glass. No pun intended. And there's a young lady. It looked like she was picking something up. She was bent forward. She was away from me, bending away from me. And her female parts were as spread as the west is to the east. And I'm just like in awe of this. I'm going, wow.
You're in high school at this time?
I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
That's great.
My grandma's going to be so proud of me. I found my calling. And the rest is history.
Yeah, the
So,
Pain Reliever.
But yeah.
And that was a Foreign Legion, and you played with Dare Force. That's cool.
Opening for them, yeah.
Wow.
And we recorded out at Logic. Brian Bart produced the Foreign Legion put out 2 cassette tapes.
That was during the Nokomis days, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the Heavy Metal Hill.
Because I remember, Heavy Metal Hill. I remember those guys. I remember the Swedish guys. I don't remember their names, but I remember them. And I remember, I think I talked to him at a party at Nick Gnarly's house.
Okay.
Out in, he was living north at this point in time. You remember
Okay.
Nick?
Yeah,
Nick Morantz,
sort of.
Nick Gnarly.
You
He
know
was
what
a
I
guitar
mean?
player.
I mean, for the Southsiders, everything was Sean Decker's house. You know, that's all I really remember. And I tried to, like, you guys want to hear, Foreign Legion? They're like, what is this pussy bullshit? I'm like, it's a really good band. Why does everything have to be about, like,
everything's metal, man.
death? And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Antonio used to do bands over on 38th and 4th. Do you remember that?
Oh,
I remember playing there, and the
over
cabinets
by the
fell
old
off
Art
the
Son's
kitchen
Chicken
wall.
Wings or whatever?
Yeah.
30. Okay, yeah. Okay, I remember that joint.
Yeah,
Very.
It was
slightly.
dangerous, man. We were in some dangerous areas when we were
Yeah.
down in there. It was,
Yeah, well,
that's
it was the era, and it was the decadence spilling over. I think the decadence of the mid to late '80s kind of spilled over. It wasn't all grunge still.
Yes, yeah. Did you do a
Or
lot
yet.
Did you do a lot of parties in high school and stuff like that? Were you do the party scene, or did you?
Yeah, we in part it helped that Dan Monahan's dad worked for the Star Tribune. We threw a party. There's a 2-page article. It's upstairs that made it into the Sunday paper.
For a party?
Yes, it's legendary.
Where
One
was
of the quotes is, it's from Dan Monahan himself. Because of course the police came in droves. I don't know how many precincts had to put this thing to bed, but there, above there's like a big blown up, quote from Dan, teenage party host. They didn't use his name. Come on, there wasn't 275 people in here, like maybe 150, not even that many, in a house no bigger than this, dude. It's just on the other side of Nokomis. We're talking like 48th Street and 14th Avenue. A little more trivia for you, coup de grace.
Yep.
But in a weird way of things turning around, when I ended up getting the gig with Willie Wisely.
Oh, you played with Willie too.
Yeah. Jim Maherl came over. I hadn't seen him forever. He came over to audition for the guitar. I was already in, so now we're auditioning guitarists. And Jim Weber ended up getting the gig. But everything was cool. Everyone's still buddies, you know.
Yeah.
And Jim Maherl rode with us in a van when we played South by Southwest in probably 1993.
Okay.
Somewhere within that time frame.
Gotcha.
Just kind of came along and helped be the van driver. And he was doing his own thing down there, promoting something. Because, he was continuing to play guitar and sing and write. He ended up getting the gig with Andrew W.K.
Yep. I remember seeing him on Saturday Night Live,
Sure.
and I'm just like, I did shows with that too.
Yeah.
You know?
He did put together, I think it was still under the Coup de Grace, but they played like X Fest or
it was
93 Edge Fest.
Yeah, it was.
Jeff Loman was on guitar for that gig, which I thought was weird.
That's right, because it
You know
was
what I mean?
Chauncey,
Oh,
Steve,
okay.
Steve who passed.
Yes.
Steve Resch, and then.
But it was like Thin Lizzy. There were guitars everywhere.
Yes, there
Okay.
was. I didn't know that was Lovan. That's
Yeah.
okay because there's a video.
And dig this. Speaking of Thin Lizzy, Maherl, he moved to Ireland.
Yeah,
You're aware that he's like
he's like a Thin Lizzy wanna guy.
He's tight with Phil's mom.
I know.
Like he hangs out with Phil's family.
I know. He put out some stuff. MySpace days. That was some of the most amazing stuff. It was post Andrew WK. It was
he did a jingle for like Northwest Airlines or American Airlines.
Yeah, just an amazing guitar player. I mean, when I first met him, he was 17.
But Willie Wisely, my band leader, his little brother Jake Wisely, was the coup de grace. Wasn't it Red Decibel was the label? Okay.
Yep.
So,
I was tight.
So I met Jake before I met Willie.
Okay.
Because of coup de grace.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I was tight with Jake through Dave Yeager. He introduced us. And
Sure.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find that guy, but I think he's doing something with like copyright law or something with
Jake?
Warner Brothers. Yeah.
I know that he moved out to Chicago because we stayed at his house once when I was gigging with Willie.
Yeah.
This is going back to like 1993.
Yep.
And it was on the business side of music. It was either ASCAP or BMI, but he was working with publishing.
Yeah.
I don't know which one.
Yeah,
Obviously
because he
one or
did
the
the
other.
Red Decibel thing. He had Coup de Grace, Drop Hammer, Rapscallion. God,
Rapscallion.
I love that band.
Sure.
Love that band. But yeah, he did that for a while, and he was tied in with Twin Tone, and then he was tied in with Warner Brothers too. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's up to anymore.
yeah. Anyways,
And,
yeah, I just think
Willie, his brother, had ended up moving to Los Angeles for quite some time, and I think he's moved back to Minnesota since then.
Okay.
But I could track him down if I had to. I've had the same phone number since like 1989. Yeah, I was Verizon before
It's still only
Verizon.
7 digits.
It's crazy, man.
It doesn't have an area code.
Yeah. So he knows how to get a hold of me.
Nice.
My number has not changed. But the thing with Willie, it was an all original band, because he had already had stuff out, the Willie Wisely Trio. He had a couple of albums already released.
Yeah. So this wasn't the Willie Wisely Trio.
This was now just Willie Wisely.
Okay.
And he hooked up with John Fields, Strawberry, his nickname.
Okay.
Who went on to do the Greasy Meal thing. This is kind of when Greasy Meal was at their peak with the Sunday Night House gig at the Caboose. So the album that I was associated with, well, there's two of them. And the first one, the label was October Records. It was John Fields produced this stuff, and his uncle is Steven Greenberg, the guy that wrote Funky Town.
Oh, okay.
So that's his uncle.
Nice.
So he was in charge of the Willie albums, and the first one is the title of the album is She, and I'm not on the album. It's basically a lot of Greasy Meal guys.
Okay.
And some other, I don't want to call them session guys because they were in bands playing live too, but
yeah,
they were Strawberry's crew or posse. Like he wants to use the guys that look, I can dig it. He's the producer. That's how it works.
Yep.
And he knows what he wants. He knows what it should sound like, and he knows who can give it to him without a gazillion takes.
Gotcha.
So that's when I came on board, and we did a lot of shows. We toured in support of that album in Willie's van.
Oh, okay.
I've been to New York 4 times.
Really?
Via a van, and we got to play Boston. These are the really glorious, like New York City, Boston. But then there's also like, sorry for the people that actually reside there, like New Haven, Connecticut. Way different than Manhattan.
Okay.
I mean, even we're literally one night we're playing in New York City, we're in Manhattan, and then the next night, and you can see it right across the water, we're in like Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Great town, but I'm in Hoboken, and I'm just, you're looking over the water going, man, yesterday was really cool. But we played all over the place, like the Quad Cities. He was huge down there with the college kids and the little Iowa. We got to do, not that this is one of the Quad Cities, but we did Kansas City, which was great. I played the Cubby Bear with him in Chicago. The Double Door was even a better room, but it wasn't. It's no longer there. Cubby Bear is still there. It's right across from Wrigley Field. But we ended up playing a gig in Chicago for some committee that was like connected with the Grammy Awards, and this was a contest for. It was like a battle of the bands. Okay. And somehow we won the thing because there were some really good bands.
And this is with Willie Wisely.
Yes.
Okay.
And we got I felt like a bona fide rock star because I'm thinking this is so weird. I'm going to a gig on a jet. Like my drums are in the cargo storage underneath.
Oh, really?
I'm doing what John Bon Jovi's doing. Like, this is how he goes to his gig.
Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't take a Kia Optima to a gig. He takes a Boeing, okay? So we got to do this big showcase out there. And there was some other bands that were kind of like Willie, just on the brink of... there's one band from Orange County. They were called Save Ferris. And you could tell that they were like disciples of No Doubt.
Okay.
It was the same kind of vibe. They had their Gwen Stefani, and they were killer.
Gotcha.
I think they kind of won the whole thing type deal. But yeah, it was really cool. We got to go play. I can't remember the name of the theater that we got to go play. It was a cool gig. And like on the marquee, it was like, Willie Wisely. And then 2 nights later, Ronnie James Dio.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I was playing like a real venue.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I got to take an airplane to the show.
Oh.
So that was cool. And then Willie had to just focus on, he bought a duplex. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he still owns that, but he did a real nice job of renovating it, cleaned it up. It was a fixer-upper to say the least. And he kind of focused on not losing money making music. Because he had to pay us as his players.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no way we're going to get in a van and ride to
plane fare.
ride to Boston in a van or all the way to Austin, Texas to play South by Southwest. It's a 20-hour drive. Yeah. And I did like 18 of it straight until I just couldn't anymore. Somebody else drive. It's got to be somebody else's turn. So we did that for probably because Willie going into it, he said, "Here's the deal. I'm going to make 2 albums on October Records, and I need to land a record deal, or I'm going to find something else to do." And so that's what I want you guys to do is commit to like 1 year. And I think it lasted closer to 2. It was definitely over a year, but he's like, I'm realistic about this. I'm not expecting you to give me 10 years of your life.
Yeah.
So it worked out great. He did it moving out west, and I think he got involved with doing jingles, or maybe he was even acting in like commercials or something. And doing some acting in like indie films and stuff. I don't really know because we somewhat lost touch with one another. Mm-hmm. We're no longer in the same band anyways. Yeah. And it worked out pretty good because I went back to playing covers. I joined Life Force.
Okay. Yeah. And now who?
With
yeah.
That was Jeff Callisto was the original drummer. He's no longer with us. God rest his soul. And John Keats, he was the bass player. He's Super J, as he's known.
Okay, all right.
He's in Them Pesky Kids these days. So that's what Super J is doing. He was the bass player in Life Force. I replaced Jeff Callisto, And then Chris Vox, who is
Chris
now
Vox,
in
that's what I
Hairball,
was
he was
thinking of,
the
yeah.
front man of that.
Gotcha.
And we had Tony Marcourt on lead guitar. He got out of the biz. He's a IT guy, computer genius. He lives out in Phoenix now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, doesn't. I'm sure he still owns 3 very beautiful Paul Reed Smith, like
Yeah.
$4,000 guitars. Not actively gigging. And when Tony was kind of on his way out with that stuff before he moved out to Phoenix. So we carried on as it was Life Force without, Tony, and we were the KV3, the Chris Fox trio.
Okay.
KV3. Didn't experience the success that Life Force did, but we held our own. We did great.
Mm-hmm.
And then that came to a screeching halt because Chris got offered to front Gemini, which was on its way down, if you will. I mean, they were still a killer band. But times were changing. Like, no one was booking the same shows, and we weren't playing the same in front of the same crowds.
You weren't doing
that
four
we were.
nights, four nights in a row.
It was a changing of the guard.
Yep.
And then Rob Kruger left his own band because he suddenly owned, look, I own my own PA system. And suddenly now he owns like 5 PA systems and all these trucks. He could make more money setting stuff up and then not having to play.
Oh, that's how. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty.
So Krister Peel came in to take Rob's place, but it was just too late. Like the Gemini thing was coming to a close.
The style of music wasn't.
And they just couldn't, I mean. No. He was actually playing drums in a band called Sunset Strip. I saw them at Ryan's, and I walked up to him and I said, he wasn't even the singer, but
That's right.
they were doing covers, and they closed one of their sets. They covered Sin City by AC/DC.
Okay.
And I'm watching this dude play wrong-handed. He's a lefty. But he'd play a right-handed kit, but he'd play like open-handed.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
And I heard him sing, and I couldn't believe it.
I know. That's.
And I walked up to him and I went on break and I said, "Hey, here's the deal, man. I don't know about your drumming so much. I'm not going to comment on that. He's not a bad drummer. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I know of a pretty decent drummer too. I can't sing like you though, and I want you to be my lead singer. Well, how can we work together?"
Oh, that's awesome.
And it took years. I ended up becoming the member of Life Force, which is so weird because, he and Tony were in the wet spots. Gary Charlie and Frank Kohler had hired so many people over decades in and out of the wet spots. It was always those two, though. Chris and Tony split to form Life Force. They were going to be all original. They approached me, and I said, I can't really do that right now because I've been doing this Cloud9 thing.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be the starving artist. But oddly enough, I did just audition at Gary Charlie's over in Coon Rapids. It looks like I'm taking the gig that you're leaving. So I replaced him in the wet spots.
Oh, really?
Yes. And as far as who replaced Tony, we talked about how many guitars. Rob Solberg.
Yep.
Aaron Troyan. Pumpkin came in.
Okay.
A gentleman named Scott Felton. I don't know what happened to him. He's not around. But there was a few dudes that came in over the years that had done it. Rob Riley was still in that band. He was in the wet spots when I joined, when I got the gig. And he was on his way out. He ended up going with Austin Healy.
Okay.
He was only in the band with me for maybe 6 months.
It's so incestuous.
But we had Chaz Carlson on keyboards. He was in a version of Kane back when I was a kid.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
I was with the Wet Spots for years. And
so this Wet Spot was before or after
well,
Life
what
Force?
happened was Life Force was going all original.
Okay.
But they quickly learned it's like they're playing the Iron Horse and it's like we're Life Force. And then but they'd get to do that like on a Thursday night. And then Phil is like the owner of the,
Yeah.
Iron Horse itself. He's like, if you play some covers, you could probably get in on a Saturday. So they did, but they were too proud to let go. So they were Alter Ego on Saturday nights.
Oh, okay.
That was the cover version of Life Force. That was their Alter Ego, literally. Okay. That was the band name. And it didn't take long for, we want to be called Life Force. We've got this CD out, Lunar Dream, and yeah, fine, we'll just start playing covers in addition to our originals. So Life Force, and ended up becoming the KV3, and that did its thing until, Chris got the gig with Gemini. And everybody kind of went their own way. I had also been doing this house gig with Mr. Peter Bourne on Friday nights down at Glick's. And the concept behind that was live band karaoke. And we did it every Friday night for like 6 years. And it was packed. I mean, it's Glick's. It's right across the street from Target Center. So especially like during the Timberwolves season, they're lighting out. We're getting on stage, and it's like, here's thousands of people that maybe want to come into a bar.
I've been to Glick's.
Bars. I mean, there's bars everywhere. Thanks to Target Center. So we did that for years, and Peter Bourne was kind of get out of the business for a little bit because he was doing a TV thing for a network that's no longer around, Speed Vision it was called, because he's very much into cars. Okay. And this was a show that he could, it was like he would take a Fiero and give it a beauty makeover, and all of a sudden it's like, is that a Ferrari or a Lamborghini? I can't tell, but it was a Fiero. And it was this, he'd make a show out of it. Like, we're going to turn your Gremlin into like the Eddie Munster car. Okay. So it was cool. He did that, and that's what he focused on. And I thought, okay, well, this band is done, but this live band, like having people sign up to sing, is kind of cool. I ran with it under the moniker Mockstar. Yep. And that was my venturing into like, wow, I'm a band leader now instead of playing drums in somebody else's band. I did that for years. Like any other band, we went through many players. Even though we want someone to sign up to sing, in the early versions of that band, we were a trio, and everyone would take turns singing when it was slow sign-up times. And then we eventually did bring in David Rodriguez, D-Rod, to be our lead singer.
He does stuff with Marco too, doesn't he? He does a little bit.
I think so. I don't know. I know right now that David is he's got his own thing. The Atomic Playboys is what they're called.
Yeah, that's Marco. Marco's with that. Yes.
Oh yeah, I thought that was Mick Rotella.
It's Marco and Frank.
Okay.
And
Steve Stevens, does he play guitar on that? The Atomic Playboys?
No, it's Marco and Frank.
We got him. We just got our host. You guys know that post Billy Idol, Steve Stevens started a band called Atomic Playboys before David did. This guy right here. Okay.
You're going national. I'm not in that world right now.
Yeah, they started a band called the Atomic Playboys.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, gosh, why didn't you call it Iron Maiden or, like Black Sabbath or something? If you're going to use something that's already been taken, like, you know what I mean? Like, why didn't you want to be like, okay, you can't be Jefferson Airplane. You can't
Jefferson Starship.
You can't do that. You could have been Jefferson Space Shuttle.
Yep, Jefferson
you could have been
UFO.
Jefferson Space Shuttle.
Yeah.
It's still, you can have it. You can even have the website. I think you'd have to go .net.
.info.
Or make it a committee like we're jeffersonspaceshuttle.org. Or teach people something .edu.
Yeah, you got me.
Make it a teachable moment.
Okay, so you got me with the whole getting me all.
We're talking about Mockstar.
Yes.
And what really kind of shut that down was the COVID thing that came about. Because here's the deal. It messed up everything, didn't it? We know this. But the worst time to have something like Mockstar, it's like, here COVID is just exploding as an epidemic. And it's like, okay, remember, we're going to go on break. All you need to do is go sign up, pick a song. We're all going to sing into the same mic, and then we'll have the flu together and die. It's just,
yeah.
And the gigs weren't getting as good. The last house gig, because Mockstar, we would do gigs. Greg Apsey would put us here or there. Mm-hmm. Greg Schmidt booked us into a couple things too. But the bread and butter was the house gig. And we had some stuff up in Robbinsdale, the Lodge of Robbinsdale.
Okay, yeah.
And I think we played across the street at the Eagle's Nest. Brad Eagle had a club across the street.
Okay.
When that ended, the last thing that we did as far as a house gig was, oddly enough, your stomping ground, Richfield. Mockstar was doing, and I loved it because the hours were great. It was like Sundays from 2 to 6 at the American Legion on Crosstown in Portland. I loved it. I loved that. It's so close to my house. It's the middle of the day. And you know, but management changed over there, and they wanted to. The whole place ended up being kaput. And we played not in the big room in the back. It was like right when you kind of walk in.
Yeah, the dance bar part.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. But yeah, COVID, and then that was kind of the last thing I did to where, I still own the name Mockstar. We still have the Facebook page. We still have, it is Mockstar, mockstarband.com. You can see how often I frequent my own website.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we still own the domain, and we'll use it again. But, it started out as Angel and I. It's like, okay, well, we're Mockstar now. It's just a duet.
Yeah. But,
we'll get a band. We like being in bands. As I mentioned, she's in a band. I'm currently not right now, and I'm fine with it.
Is this the first time that you haven't been?
I think so.
Since high school, at least?
Yeah, for sure. But I still give lessons in the drum room, and COVID kind of squashed that too. But I still give private lessons here. I just got hired by Guitar Center, but they don't have any clientele yet. But if they
the
can build
Dino
it
one
up,
or Bloomington, I mean?
Yeah, the one off of
by Southtown.
Southtown, yes.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Love that place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go buy things at Guitar Center in
We all have. There's no Nude Cafe anymore.
These were purchased at Guitar Center in
there you go.
In Southtown.
So yeah, I'm just focused on teaching and doing music with my lovely wife, Chris Angel. And if that becomes something that we pursue really heavily, then that my plate will be full enough. And then if and when Mockstar comes about again, it would be Angel and I, and of course, we need a band.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even mind hiring a drummer, so I could just I'll front it.
Oh, there you
I did
go.
my share of singing in different moments within when Mockstar was around, but
yeah.
Plus, it's just so much less gear to carry.
It is a lot less gear.
Yes,
right there.
Speaking of gear, do you want to see the lab that is?
Yes, I do got a couple more questions before we move on, though.
Feel free.
You won a best drummer contest or competition, right? What was that?
It was through Guitar Center. I had entered the ones when Nude Cafe was in charge of it.
Yep. Your humble side comes out on this video, by the way.
I don't like those things because it's so. They're just weird to me. It's like, because drums don't. It's not a melodic instrument. Not that they can't play. You can play a melody.
Yep.
You can create stuff like that, but by and large, it's percussion. You're using it to keep time. That's what drums are for. Okay.
Okay, I got you.
So when you're just like a guitar solo, there's notes, there's frequencies, or piano, or any other instrument other than the drums. Drum solos can be cool. There's really good ones, but they're lacking a certain element of musicality because of the fact that there's no frequencies that you could tune a piano or a guitar to. You can tune a tom-tom, but it doesn't need to be, hey, that thing sounds a little sharp. It's like, no, that's how I did it because that's how I want it to sound.
Yeah.
So anyways, the drum solo thing, Nude Cafe was doing it, and I'd always finish. I always made it in. I think you'd send in your audition tape. I make it in cassette.
Yeah.
That I do on my Fostex 4-track.
Oh, that's right. Or you had the Fostex. I had the Tascam.
I did move up to a Tascam, and I learned how to ping pong. I can make it like a 6-track recording device if you wanted to.
That's right.
Like do this and then dump it all
in
track 4.
You take all 3 on the track 4. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
I'd get in, and then I'd always finish like 9th. Like I'd finish somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Michael Bland won it one year.
Okay.
I think that was the year that Billy Thayer took 2nd or 3rd.
Okay.
But all these dudes that have been doing it and way beyond the stuff I was doing. Johnny Morgan, Bam Bam, St. Paul guy.
Okay.
He won it. That dude is a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
Good gosh. I wonder what he's doing now. But anyways, Johnny Foster is still around. He's a great drummer. He was doing a Beatles thing.
Okay.
Not the one that Kevin's doing, but Ken Franzen. But anyways,
1964, I think it is. Or something.
I thought, Nude Cafe is long gone. Now Guitar Center's doing this, and I remember the day I had auditioned, I didn't have car insurance, and it was like, this is when Guitar Center was off Snelling up in Roseville.
Oh, the big one, yeah.
And I was living at the Piedmont, and it's raining out, and I was gonna have to ride my motorcycle, which I don't mind, but I don't prefer.
Yeah.
And I got Kleenex up my nose because of hay fever, it's algae season. And I got home from work, and I was gonna take a nap, and I set my alarm to. It's like, let me just get 15 minutes, and then I'll go do this drum solo. The alarm goes off. I didn't even really fall asleep fully, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. These things, they're kind of, I think they're silly. I don't do that great in them anyways, and I'm done. It's just, I don't want to do it. Laid there for a couple minutes and thought, just go do it, and then you can bitch about it later. Instead of just regret, you can say, I told you people that I didn't tell, I told you so. I told myself so. I drove up there. Previously I would like sit and rehearse this stuff, and like, it kind of would mess with me. Like, I'm nervous already because I'm playing in front of nothing other than drummers, and there's no other instruments.
Oh my God!
What's your audience? You're doing a drum solo for a drum contest. Who's listening?
Yep.
Drummers.
Yeah.
No one else is there. So, anyways, I didn't really write a drum solo this time. I thought I'm just gonna sit down and play and try to think what 2 minutes feels like. And they weren't like hardcore Nazis about it with a stopwatch or anything.
Yeah.
I sat down, played, did my thing. People clapped. Thank you. And I didn't stick around to hear anybody else. I hopped on my bike and went back home. And they got a hold of me like the next day or whatever it was and told me that I won. Now, these contests, again, they're subjective.
Yes.
I think they're silly. But I get it. They have beauty pageants. There's contests for all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I get it. So I have never been and never will be the Twin Cities best drummer. But Guitar Center claims that I was in like 1994 or whatever it was. So the cool thing is, being that it's not Nukape, it's Guitar Center. They're all over the nation.
Yeah.
The next step was to go to the regionals. They took me to Chicago, and I took third place in that.
Okay.
And I won a double pedal out of it. And they put me up in a nice hotel and, free food and all that jazz.
Yeah.
But I didn't really, that was it. I didn't parlay it into any gigs or anything like that.
I gotcha.
But, yeah, that's why you do stuff like that, is in an effort to, someone will see you or hear you. And then it's like, hey, because some of the dudes that are winning that stuff now, like that, what's his name? Thomas Pridgeon, I think. Like, he ended up getting the gig with the Mars Volta. He won the Guitar Center thing. So these guys go on to like they were on, all of a sudden they're on the Letterman show.
Okay, I gotcha.
So it's like you can parlay it into something.
Yes, I understand.
Not that the Mars Volta is like a household name. Like, Bon Jovi, we haven't brought him up enough.
Not enough.
And can you? Is there ever enough Peppermint John Bon? I'm going to say no. Even though a little can go a long way at times. So yeah, that was that. I guess what I got out of it is like using it when I would try to launch these teaching gigs. It's like, what have I done? I've been in these bands, and I've done this type of. I did a TV commercial, and I've done studio tracks for this band or these. People have used me for session work, and I won the Guitar Center's Twin Cities Best Drummer contest. It doesn't hurt to say it.
No, not at all.
But that's what I got out of it. Was probably some drum students.
You mentioned that you played with Chase and Ovation.
Yes.
Too. And how long did you do that with those guys?
I think it was like 6 years.
6 years. Gotcha. And now you've also subbed for aren't you like with Michael Bland, you kind of went back and forth in a couple of bands too?
Well, I was,
how can I explain
this gentleman's name is Adrian.
Adrian, yes.
And I was his drummer. Ron Caron who was the drummer before me, who was also in Cloud9 for a minute, like before me.
Okay. This would have been heyday Mirage days.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Ron is a
94,
great
95,
drummer.
maybe.
Excellent drummer. I think he was in Tina and the B-Sides too, if I'm not mistaken. He's currently in something, I think it's called the Purple Experience. It was what Dr. Fink was doing. It's
the Doctor
like
from
a
the
Prince.
Revolution?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a Prince tribute thing with Marshall Charloff, incredible vocalist, keyboard player, and has the Prince thing down. He looks and sounds like Prince like you wouldn't believe, man. Yeah, he's a mega talent, Marshall. Really good dude.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I think Ron is drumming for that, I believe.
Okay.
So, but it's Ovation is regional. They're doing stuff primarily in town. Like Bunkers is their bread and butter.
Oh yeah,
and they
absolutely.
do some other gigs too.
Yeah,
and they're doing great. I mean, they're popular as all. But Chase, he's got a great band.
Yeah.
He's always had great players. And they're still doing it. And
is Johnny still doing it with them?
No, he left.
Or is he just the hype?
He's in the hype now, and I think that's all that he's doing. I think he's still an instructor at Rock Camp for Dads, or now called the Rock Camp Experience or the Rock Experience.
Okay.
That's what it's called now. I no longer instruct there. But I think he's still there. He's obviously in the hype, and they're playing a lot. They do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what Johnny's doing now. But he was in Ovation way early on, and there was a guy before him when I was in there even.
Yeah.
I don't know who's playing guitar in that band now. I've seen snippets on social media, but it's someone I've never met. I don't know, but he's great. Sounds like a great player.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But you did with Adrian. You were a
now
drummer.
Michael had been doing drum stuff with him as well as Ron Karen.
Okay.
And I met Adrian. Man, again, this had to have been back in like 91.
Yeah, right about 91, 92, yeah.
But, Jim Weber was his guitarist, and like Jim was like leaving Adrian, and he was, simultaneously auditioning for Shane.
Yeah.
He ended up getting a gig with me. And
wow.
And then Jim, like, he catches wind that I'm like thinking about doing this thing with Adrian on the side, and he's like, yeah, I was in that band. And I'm like, weird, okay.
It's just so
and
much.
I got some material from
like
Adrian. I'm like,
Chris
that's from
Vox
Jim Weber.
stuff
He's in the Missing Gabriel was like the single. And there's Jim in the video, and Ron was on drums, Ron Karen. So, yeah, I did some work with Adrian, and he was just focused singer, songwriter, great guitar player too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And all originals. And then he ended up, he didn't want to have a day job anymore, and he just wanted to play music. And to do that, you have to play covers, usually to make a living.
Yeah.
And yet ended up doing, it was almost like a cruise ship gig, but I don't think it was on a cruise ship. But he went to like China.
Really?
And went overseas and played, top 40, like,
wow.
lounge funk.
Yeah. He was amazing
For years.
personality on stage. I think we played with him once or twice. I don't know if you were. I think you might have been in the band at that time, or maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know.
It was a Mirage gigs. So
maybe.
when they
But Mike Bland,
yeah.
Michael would do, he did a few of those gigs.
Mm-hmm.
I did a few of the gigs. Harley Ham, who's along with us, he was Adrian's guitar player for a little bit.
Okay. Good time though. That was a great time.
I know that Adrian now, he moved out to Reno, and he was gigging in casinos out there, again doing covers but making probably decent bread.
Mm-hmm.
But still, playing guitar and singing. But I think both as a sideman and probably ended up launching his own thing too. But I haven't talked to him in a while. He's getting older, and there's some health stuff. Everyone's hurting from something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it reminds me I should maybe try to give him a ring. It's been a while. So yeah.
You're going to probably have to give a lot of people a ring after this.
No, they're going to give me a ring because, again, I have not changed my phone number.
Nice. Yeah, because, Gary and Frank just did a Stunner stage like 2 days ago.
Okay.
It dropped, and they were talking about the wet spots, obviously, and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny that tied in. So we're going to go do a little bit of walking around.
Okay.
But what kind of drum sets have you played over the years? What's your brands that you use?
Okay, so I started out as a little kid, and it was a used drum set that probably came from Thompson Dahlgren. I believe it was a Rogers.
Oh yeah, Rogers. Yep,
yeah. And it was pretty beat up, really, and it literally just fell apart.
One tom or two toms?
Initially, there was just a rack tom.
Yeah,
yeah. Snare.
Yep.
You have the photo of it.
Yeah.
And I eventually did find a mismatched floor tom from somewhere.
Yeah.
But I didn't even have a hi-hat. Just one cymbal coming off the bass drum.
Yep,
and
yep.
snare.
Oh, the amount of tom in the
Yep.
bass. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I played that kit for years, and it literally it was falling apart. Like it was like press board or like particle board
Yep.
type stuff. And the basement over there at the Piedmont, it was waterlogged. It wasn't like the Mac program housing that we're enjoying right now.
There you go.
Literally right now.
At this moment.
We are in the Mac program, okay?
Nice.
I'm not going to give you my address. He told me not to.
Nope. Don't go,
Anyways,
don't go and try and find him.
So yeah, then I bought another used drum set that was a Ludwig.
Oh, okay.
It was very Ringo Starr. It had the cymbal coming off the side again, 4-piece kit.
Okay.
But I had some other stuff that we bought that from a private party, and it had cases. I still have a couple of the cases, oddly enough.
Yeah.
You'll see them when we go out to the garage. And I should have held on to it, but it wasn't cool enough.
Okay.
And that's when I bought the big red double bass thing from Nude Capet that I was talking about earlier in this interview.
Yeah.
I sold it.
China.
Yep.
Stuff.
I sold it and bought that Ludwig one, which eventually ended up becoming 2 drum sets. I went kind of back to a 4-piece or a 5-piece.
So that was a
configuration.
Ludwig that you got.
Yeah,
that
the
big
red one.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
the red one was also a Ludwig.
Was the 4-piece that you got? Was that the olive badge?
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
sir.
love those. Those are solid,
And
man.
like
They can stay
what
forever.
was the swirly like marbled finish?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, it was
Right
cool.
on.
It was cool.
Right on.
I
I had
still
a 24-inch kick one. That
Yeah.
was just like, boom. I
Yeah.
let Grant Endries play it. Do you
I
remember
wanted
Grant?
sure.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was the loudest thing I've ever heard.
That was
from
the
a
era.
straight
I
up
mean, big
percussion.
drums. I had a marching snare, and
Yeah.
I had to like take a hacksaw to make my snare stand low enough, so it wouldn't be like
Really? Those
it's
things.
ridiculous. And all my rack toms, when I split that drum set into 2 like trap kits,
Yeah.
the 2 rack toms, it was a 14 and a 15.
Yeah.
Those became floor toms, and I went out and bought like an 8, 10, and a 12. to
Wow.
make- yeah.
Nice.
But those were my rack toms at the time.
I gotcha.
Ridiculous.
And
Big
what
drums
time
are
frame
harder.
would that have been? That would have been.
Well, this is when I bought that kit from Nude Capet.
So that would have been late
90
80s.
or probably early 90s. 91-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, I turned that into 2 drum sets, and I actually went back to Nude Capet in its final inception. I think they had moved it from
26
across
and
from
half,
like where the old West High School was, and it was up in a funky little strip mall. It was still on Hennepin, but it was more towards Franklin.
I vaguely remember
But
that.
very short lived. It was the end. They didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't work. The location sucked. The parking lot sucked.
Yeah.
Didn't work. So, anyways, I bought a Pearl Masters, which I still own. Same thing. 2 bass drums, 2 rack tom, 2 floor tom. If I wanted the 2 Chinas, I could have it.
Yeah.
And I still own it. It's a beautiful drum set. And that became 2 drum sets also. And you'll see it when we get out in the garage.
Okay.
And then I bought some more drum sets. The drum set over there in the little home studio, if you will, that's a Gretsch kit that I bought. I was teaching at the music-o-round that was in the Southtown Shopping Center. Tucked back in the corner.
Yep.
I think it's a famous footwear now or something.
No, they actually have torn down that part of the building.
Oh, I knew it was coming because we were just playing pool at Southtown at the bowling alley.
Yeah, they tore
Angel and I the other night. So,
Yep.
so yeah, I was teaching back in there when it was a music around for a
Yep.
little bit, and I bought a kit that was, people would always come in. It's music around, so they'd, hey, I want to sell this on consignment, or can I trade this in for
Yep.
looking for something else? And I bought that kit from there. I sold part of that Red Ludwig there, and I ended up buying this this Gretsch kit. And I've got some other drum sets too. Like when I was still doing the Prince, the Ovation thing, John Lochner was, he works for Hairball now.
Yep.
He's a roadie. Mm-hmm. But he was running the Maple Grove music around. He calls me and he's like, dude, there's a D drum kit. They're known a lot for the electronic drums, like the Simmons type pads.
Yeah.
But they also make acoustic kits, and they're pretty slick. The wood is, I'm a big maple fan.
Okay.
Hence those Pearl. They're still my
I
favorite
gotcha.
drum set.
I guess.
These are made of bubinga. It's a really hard African wood. They use it a lot for like upright basses or pianos.
Okay.
To me, it doesn't sound as good
What
as
is the
maple.
brand?
D drum.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it was Lochner thought of me because it's purple and silver glitter. In fact, it's the drum set that Will Ferrell plays, like Step Brothers or whatever that movie's called.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to, like, you know.
Yeah, the one that
They don't get along. They're stepbrothers, right?
Yeah,
And
so he goes and he just starts banging on it to get him
That's
pissed.
my drum set.
Really?
Yeah, that's the blue.
Wow.
Or, I'm sorry, purple and silver sparkle. You'll see it. It's on.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got the Pro Masters. I've got the Gretsch. I've got the D drums. And there's something else. I don't even know what brand it is. It was. It's just like spare parts type thing, but I can make it into a 4-piece kit.
I gotcha.
If need be.
I gotcha. What do you put in your hands?
I'm a Vic Firth guy.
Yeah.
I prefer Vic Firth's. I love Paiste cymbals, but I will play Zildjian drumsticks. And I mean, any manufacturer for the most part, not any, but like ProMark can make good stuff too. Mm-hmm. For a while, the craze was like, you know, like my favorite stick was the Jonathan Mover model. Okay. He played drums in a band called GTR. They had the one hit, "When the Heart Rules the Mind." Nope. You splice it in when you can YouTube it.
I will.
When the heart rules the mind, one look and love is blind. When you want the dream to last, take a chance, forget.
But he also went on
And
to drum
I'll even sing along with it.
He also went on to drum for, I think, Aretha Franklin.
Oh,
like in
okay.
his, you know,
Wow.
later. He's got to be old as the hills and twice
Wow.
as dusty now, but
Yeah.
he made a really good stick that I dug. But I don't know that it's so popular to have, you know, I mean, what do kids play now? Like, I play the Joey Jordison Slipknot drumstick. Maybe that's out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've always been the equivalent of like a 5A or a 5B,
Okay.
roughly.
All right.
5A is a little bit smaller.
You go wood tip or nylon?
Wood
or?
tip, yeah.
Okay. Right on.
Certain session, if I get hired for stuff that's where it's real, like I don't get hired for jazz stuff too often, but if it's something that I really got to focus on the ride cymbal, shuffles maybe, or something, not like sloshy hats,
Yeah.
I'll use a nylon tip because it's a brighter through a good condenser mic. You get a brighter sound than, you know. 'Cause
Oh, okay.
worst case scenario, when they're shot, they'll fly off. Wood sticks either break, like the shoulder starts to dwindle,
Yep.
or, you know, the little teardrop, the tip of the drumstick will.
And you know
Nylon
what?
tips don't do that.
They actually reference that in Step Brothers.
Do
So
they?
going full circle,
Wow.
that's how he can tell that Will Ferrell played his drums, because it has that teardrop
Oh.
break.
Okay.
Which I will now put that part into this.
I know I saw the movie, but I was kind of like, stupid, you know, whatever. I watched it, but it's okay. Everyone too, you need to see Drumline. I think someone bought it for me on Christmas on VHS. Nick Cannon, right?
Yep.
The movie sucked.
What?
I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. I like maple drumsticks. I'm a ProMark guy. Or Vic Firth, I dig. There are some ProMark back there, but Vic Firth primarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. ProMark can make like oak drumsticks or maple.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, they mess with some different woods. But just a hickory drumstick from ProMark.
I gotcha.
You can't go wrong.
You go
5A or 5B.
You go with any extended stuff, or
I've got like the, they're called blastics. It's like in between a brush and a drumstick. It's for lower volume stuff. It's like a bunch of wooden dowels. That are kind of bound.
Yep, like a kendo stick almost.
And
like
some of them are, you can adjust them to make them expand more, like an actual brush that you'd play, you know.
Oh, okay. Who makes
jazz
that?
stuff. There's probably a few companies that do. I think ProMark made the first ones. It's
Okay.
all these wooden dowels that are bound with like some type of plastic sleeve.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you can use those at a lower volume thing. Sometimes people dig them at rehearsals because it's not as loud. You know, you can bring your practice amp and turn down. You can't turn down a drum set, but you can hit it with something different to, you know, or put a ton of duct tape on the heads, whatever.
Yeah.
There's those zero ring, the silencers. It's like a
Yes.
drum head that slips into the
Right. Yep.
on top of your drum head within the
right around the
hoop.
pinstripe there.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, but yeah, that's as far as drum heads.
Yeah. What do you?
I dig. Well, on the kit down here, I was a Remo pinstripe guy forever.
Yeah.
Like the clear heads and 2-ply. That's the tone I dig.
Yep.
I also used Remo, like the dotted heads. Bonham made those. Like you wanted to play those because John Bonham
Those
did.
are single ply, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the thicker pinstripes were the Emperors. Those are a little bit too thick. And then if you get like a coated Emperor, it's like, you might as well use this is my Tom. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
But again, personal preference. I think I have coated Ambassadors in there. And I might have those out on the D drum kit too. But I know I have some clear pinstripes on some of the other drum sets, which I still dig.
Yep.
They're cool. But Remo has always been the guy. I've tried some other companies, Aquarian. They came out. Attack made some drum heads.
Okay.
I always go back to Remo.
Yeah, it's kind of the
They've been around the longest.
standard,
I've been using them the longest.
Yeah.
And same with drumsticks. There's so many makes and models now, but I'm Vic Firth primarily. But you'll find, there might be some Zildjian back there. There'll be some ProMark back there. But yeah, Vic Firth.
Vic Firth's your guy. Yeah,
Mhm.
I gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and now did you ever do the pinstripe on the snare, or do you do the coated?
I have, but
It gets such a thud.
it's just too thick.
It
It
is.
depends on what tone do you want,
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite snare is the Ludwig. It's the aluminum one, the acrylite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I think that's outside though. In here, I don't know what's in there. That might be a Slingerland.
Okay.
And then I've got a free floating, a piccolo pearl brass that you can
oh boy. They can
You
break
wanna-
glass.
sound like the Spin Doctors.
Yeah.
The opening riff of Two Princes.
It's between the regular size snare and the wood block.
I've had wood snares. I don't dig them as much. I sold one. I should have. Anytime I sell gear, it's like I don't like the sound of this. I'm never going to use it.
Yeah.
Just hold on to your gear. I don't sell stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anything. It's like, I'll give you, you enter it on Craigslist. It's probably worth a couple $100, but you're going to ask $100. I'll give you $50. Where it's like, yeah, can you punch me in the eye too? Maybe kick me in the nuts.
Yeah.
How about I give you $5?
Yeah. So when you were playing, probably at your most part, how much did you go through equipment? Because generally people think, okay, I'm going to have a drum set. I'm going to buy these heads. They're going to last me, forever.
Well,
I'm going to buy a block of the sticks. When you were
Sure.
playing all the time, were you going through a lot more of that than?
yeah, and early on, both because I was just younger, and I had less money too.
Yeah.
So to me, you replaced a drumstick when it broke in half.
Okay.
Obviously,
When the tape fell off.
you would replace a drum head when it was just dimpled and like cratered. And I'm not a hard hitter. You make the drum. I bring the sound out of the drum. I try to anyway, instead of like pounding it into a drum.
Gotcha.
And you don't need to hit hard. You can get as much volume out of a drum with good technique, hitting less hard as hitting it hard and with poor technique. But people would sit in, or you'd borrow someone. Usually somebody sitting in, but I'd sit back down and think, what happened, man? Like you just played it. You sat in for a tune. You're on this thing for 4 minutes roughly, and you just destroyed these drum heads. I'm not that guy. Thayer did do a number, and it wasn't even Billy. I think it was Johnny that sat in once.
Oh, really?
Because it wasn't Jimmy. I think it was Johnny. And Johnny did a number on my kit, and then this was in Robbinsdale too, because that's their stomping ground.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm looking around. The heads were trashed, clearly. But it's like, I think a wing nut was missing from I was missing washers, like felt washers. And then I looked down and it's like, why is a rubber foot not on that tripod? Like, how did you get a foot off of a boom cymbal stand? But that's how the Thayers do it.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. My brother-in-law is Jimmy Thayer.
Right
and
on. He's a guitarist though.
Yeah, he's a guitar player, and then him and Bobby did the.
Bobby's a bassist. Great
Yep.
bass player.
We
They're
did
all
that.
that family is so mega talented. It's
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous.
There's 7 of them. I believe that Johnny passed. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Yeah, you might be right.
Then that's Jimmy's twin.
Yep. I
So-
talked to Billy, not as often as I should. We used to check in pretty much weekly.
Yeah.
And he's always like, man, I was driving right past your house. I got to swing over. I'm like, you can come over whenever you want, man.
Yeah. Yeah. COVID, you know?
Yeah. That was a big part of it.
Yeah.
And he's got Liam now. He's got, his little young man. His little kid isn't a little kid anymore.
Yeah.
Never had the chance to meet him, but that's, when you're a dad, you're
Yep.
going to take some time
Yep.
out of your
My
your
youngest
free
is
time.
17 right now, so that's why I'm on the internet with this stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but what were we talking about when we got sort of
How you
sidetracked?
went through the.
Oh yeah. When something
Your-
was
your
broken.
cost and
When
all
when
that
I
kind
was
of stuff,
younger and
symbols.
had less money, when a drumstick broke, it needed to be replaced. If a head was so dented or dimpled, or sometimes heads do break,
Yep.
you got to replace it. There's a hole in it.
Yeah.
But over time, I could afford more gear more often, and just from playing more and hopefully improving, getting better on your instrument, getting better at your craft, I could feel when a drum head, it's like I'm tuning the snare constantly. The head is just too stretched out. It's
Yeah.
just been hit too many times.
Okay.
And it's kind of losing some of its elasticity. So it's got to go. And then with the drumsticks, I could, just from like hitting a crash cymbal, not so much the ride, sometimes the hi-hats, but on the edge, if I'm looking for more of a rock sound, a sloshy hi-hat. But, a crash cymbal, I don't hit it like the way I hit a ride. You're going into it with the shoulder of the stick, and that's going to, there's little wood shavings, So eventually the sticks, I don't like the way, they don't weigh. Like, there's a reason I bought this 5A. I like the weight of it. I like the diameter. I like the shape of it, the length of it,
Yeah.
all that jazz. If you hit a crash cymbal enough times, the wood's been shaved off. They don't weigh the same. So it's like, this doesn't feel like a 5A. We're down to a 7A.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
So, and I'll use like marching sticks, like 2Bs for warm-ups, because then you...
Oh, really?
Like
Okay.
back in the day, like guys, they'd get their, Chuck Atlas home gym. They'd put the sand, I wear weights around my ankles and I'll play double bass. And then when I take them off, I can play really fast. It's like, okay, that's weird though. Just go play double bass and get good at it.
Yeah.
Or like the dudes that have the handle thing with the coil. It's like,
Oh,
my single stroke rolls are going to be so fast. I'm like, I don't know. Your forearm looks big. Maybe you should go play some single stroke rolls. Get a metronome and see if you're getting faster at them. I don't know. Teach his own, but yeah. So that's where I'm at now. With sticks, when they're wore out, they're guitarists that do it for real, like full time, not me. They change strings when they don't wait for them to just break.
They change it on feel.
Yeah, they don't feel good. They're gunky. They don't feel good. They don't tune like they used to. They're stretched out. They got to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I stand with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, and then you got anything that you want to promote, like teaching stuff or the Chris Angel stuff, or
People can find it online.
okay.
Thanks to the fake book.
Yeah.
It's so easily. I mean, sure, I can give Chris Angel. It's just off the ground. We were just doing this stuff a couple days ago, so it's
I was
it's
there.
so much in its
I was watching it.
embryonic stages. But that's something to look out for. Mockstar, it's still a thing. We're not actively gigging, but sure, don't forget about us.
With the amount of people that are probably going to be calling you after
I
this.
still give private lessons if you want to do a drum lesson. I prefer Saturdays. Any day works, but Saturdays are the best, just from everything else that's going on in my world and in yours.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. And other than that, take care of one another.
Yeah. Be good.
Be a good person.
Be good to one another.
You call your mom once in a while.
Yep. So we're gonna go and we're gonna do a little tour.
Okay.
We're gonna go mobile here.
All
We're
right.
already pretty mobile because I'm not even at my house. I'm at your house, so I'm
Yes.
mobile here. Now we're even going with smaller mobile. We'll go to one microphone. We'll go
Okay.
to one camera. And yeah.
I'll
we'll
take
be
you
back-
around.
We'll be back in a second. All right. So where are we going?
All right. Let's head into where the music is actually made.
All right.
It's the drum room. This is where I give private lessons. We got another small PA system. Keyboard. That's one of the many guitars that's the Telecaster happens to be down here now. That's my Hagstrom Gene Simmons bass. He doesn't play Hagstroms, but it just looks so Gene.
It does got a Gene vibe to it.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's the hook.
Well, check out the machine heads. Look at how you tune. Look at that. How gothic is that?
Oh my God.
Next to you, behind you here, Scott. This is the Wall of Fame. There's the music. Yeah, that's just the diploma. I think the outstanding graduate. Different bands I've worked with here and there.
All right, so what we got here? Flip Nipsey.
Flip Nipsey, sure. From St. Paul. We didn't really mention them in the interview, but
What time frame was that? Would that have been?
that's got to be 1996 through. No, I'm sorry. Let's say more like 1999 through maybe 2003.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
All right.
That's why I got to put years on some of these posters like this one. It's like, I know I gigged with them on Friday, April 18th. I don't know what year that was. But some of that.
If it's Zed Leplin and it's the Whiskey Rack, and that would be in North St. Paul, I would say 2015.
And you know what? Speaking of
Am I
dude's name,
right?
Scott, maybe, but check this out. The actual photo of, because that's not the gig that they're promoting. That was another gig.
Okay.
That was at Scott Yauk from Regime. The Noose. He had that bar over in St. Paul. The Noose, a great place to hang.
Nice.
Yeah, that bar's no longer there, but man, was that a rough and tumble. It was off of like Minnehaha Avenue, not the one that we know from
I didn't
Minneapolis.
even
The Noose,
know
yeah.
that you went there.
Yeah, that was a gig there.
And then we got the Hurricane Alice. We didn't
Yeah.
actually even talk about Hurricane Alice.
We didn't.
We didn't bring up Hurricane Alice.
Well, that happened in like 2006.
Okay.
I was playing Doc's Landing in White Bear Lake, and with Flip Nipsey, oddly enough.
So you were actually playing in a band? Okay,
Yes,
now,
yeah.
Just so if you don't know who Hurricane Alice is, then you're wrong. But if you do know who this is, that's Bruce Newman, and he was the original singer from Hurricane Alice. And I saw their first show at Mr. Nibs with
Wow,
Lenny
with Lenny,
DiMancari
sure.
and
Scotty on bass.
Yeah, Scotty Warner.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
And then I don't remember but he had just left Employer.
Okay, sure.
And he had and I saw him at Nibs, and oh yeah, that was a great time. That was a great
sure.
time. And so you ended up playing with Hurricane Alice.
Yeah.
In the reboot, would you say?
Yeah. There's been a few. I was playing with Flip Nipsey at Doc's Landing, White Bear Lake, and I think Greg Absey had booked it, and he was just out and about checking out, probably a few bands that night that he books, of course, and I think Bruce was with him, and Bruce had been talking about putting another version of Hurricane Alice back together, because after they went out west to LA and did their thing, Tear the House Down, that album.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce came back and did something. It was the Mighty Roostas.
Oh, okay.
They played the Mirage a couple times. It was John Domago on guitar.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And so anyways, that didn't last long. They did a lot of covers. It was a good band. I can't remember who else was in it, but those guys were going to put Hurricane Alice back together, and it was Domago on guitar. And someone named Kirk, I think, was on the other guitar. I didn't really get to know these guys. And Scotty Werner was back. He's going to be on bass.
Oh, wow.
And he hadn't played in a while and was real rusty. And there was some other stuff. It's just like, for whatever reasons, that lineup wasn't going to happen. And Bruce was like, you know what? I knew I shouldn't have done this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? Before you pull the plug on this, because Bruce and I we had such good chemistry singing. Mm-hmm. And I said, I got a couple of players that I've got a history with that can you at least, before you pull the plug on this entirely, let me see if they're interested in coming down and let's see what happens. And it was Johnny Holiday and Super J. And it worked. The chemistry was what I was hoping and was thinking it would be and what was ultimately hoping it would be.
7 couple 11 on a dime a dozen do. Papa Deacon Jesus doing the Hollywood Boogie Blues. The things start shaking and you back on too. Body making noise except for yeah. Tear the house down. Tear the house down. All right, everybody rock. Take it to the top. Tear the house down.
And we had quite the run. We played Sturgis. We played the Myth a couple times, opening for some of the bigger bands, Warrant, Firehouse. Played the Medina a few times. Halfway Jam, another kind of a outdoor thing up towards the Moon Dance. And a lot of other stuff in between, in and around. And yeah, it was a blast. I mean, that's one of the bigger bands that I've played in as far as like playing in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, the Myth. I mean, it was
The Myth is crazy.
packed.
All right, now come on. Little Super Bay, Super J, you gotta give them what they want, man. They want more bass guitar, right, people?
Was that the?
I think it was the.
Was it the Warrant?
The
Trickster.
Well,
Herricane
that was a
Alice?
great show, and another one that I think we were even more so firing on all cylinders. We opened for L.A. Guns.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was great, but we had a really good performance that night.
Tore the house down.
We tore the house down.
Tear the house down.
Of course we did.
That's awesome. Yeah. Tay has,
So, yeah.
Tay videoed your Route 47 show.
Okay,
whatever,
sure.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
She's still got that on her phone.
Pickle Park or
Pickle Park, yeah, whatever it's called.
I don't
yeah.
even-
It's Route 47 now, but
Okay.
whatever it was called,
Yeah.
that Pickle Park, you guys played there, and she got that whole.
There's probably a poster of it somewhere. So this is the Wall of Shame or the Wall of Fame. More instruments. That's a lot of my teaching curriculum that's buried down there. This is the drum set that just stays in here for my own sake of wanting to practice or teaching lessons.
And what are we dealing with there?
This is the Gretsch.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, so this is we talked about drum heads earlier. This would be these Evans heads. They're the equivalent of like a coated. They're a little bit thicker than an Ambassador, not quite an Emperor. If they were to be heads by Remo, and the cymbals. I mean, I'm a Peisty guy. A few years back, I unfortunately had a cymbal bag. That's the best way to steal cymbals is when they're no wing nuts to mess with.
That's right.
There's
They're
a
not
handle
being
on there.
played.
Yeah, it was but just under $2,500 worth of really nice cymbals stolen.
Oh.
Never got them back. Sad stuff. But and I've upgraded some, but being that I'm not gigging, like I would never bring something like this on stage. The Peisty 502.
Yeah.
The signatures, these are my favorite cymbals, but most of them got stolen. This ride is a signature. But yeah, this Alpha, that's it's not an Alpha. It's not even a Beta.
I don't know what
These are decent.
Oh yeah, the Zildjian hi-hats. I love those.
These are either new beats or quick beats. I just like the sound of them, but overall I do prefer Peisties. And we were talking about like right here. Obviously, I was when I was down here taking around Pro Marks, but there's some Vic Firth in there. Here are the Blastics that I was talking about.
Oh yeah.
These are synthetic sticks that you can actually, instead of them wearing out and chipping, they come apart. I'm not going to disassemble it, but you just replace the shoulder of the stick.
Oh really?
Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, and just the curriculum that I have that's not over there in that bag. That's the traveling stuff that I bring for teaching, but. I've got stuff on DVD, instructional videos on VHS, books that I studied from, or stuff that my teachers, when I was studying, gave to me, and I, made photocopies of. Stuff that I've even authored myself, and it's just kind of a hodgepodge of, like I said, stuff that I came across, or stuff that was offered to me by my instructors, or stuff that. I've authored over the years of playing and trying to help others how to learn how to play drums.
Well, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's I purposely when I bought this house, this was just one big. This basement was
One big open space.
Yeah, so to make a drum room, I decided to build a wall, and I bought a used door off Lake Street at the reuse center. It's no longer there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, when they'd like demolish a house, whatever they could salvage, they'd bring it there. So I bought a used door. And it was already a hung door. I was pre-framed, so yeah. I purposely did. I didn't want to make it any larger, knowing that a full band could fit in here. I have had band rehearsals over here.
Oh.
You can fit like the bass player in here next to the drummer. You can squeeze a vocalist back there if I get rid of the keyboard. You just leave the door open and a couple of cats hanging out on this side of the basement. Got your cans on. Everyone can hear each other. You can't see each other completely, but
yeah.
There's that coffee, dude.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
the total rock star mug.
Right on.
The spin. You got to spin the dice there.
Oh, okay. So there you have it, Club Lake Star.
All right.
And the rest of it's just like a basement,
All right.
It's where we get buff.
That's the buffness area.
Yeah, those aren't mine. Those are yours.
Yeah, those are mine.
Yeah, I have a washer and a dryer. There's the Kenny Roberts bathroom. Why not?
All right.
This was going to be Paul Stanley, one of my heroes. My other hero is Kenny. He's the king. He's King Kenny Roberts. Why is he the king? It's a great question. He can do it on asphalt. He can do it on dirt. There is no better motorcycle racer that could do it all. It's all separated now. You got guys that are strictly dirt bikes, strictly road racers. He was the guy that could do it all, therefore he's the king.
Gotcha. He even.
Oh, the toilet? KR tuned? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
I feel like I'm on MTV Cribs. This is weird.
What's up, y'all? Big Snoop D-O double G. I want to welcome y'all to my house, the dog house.
All right.
It's just like anybody else's garage, right?
Yeah.
Sort of. I don't know. There's the D drum kit. See, I'm not out actively gigging, so there's stuff in and around it as we're preparing for summer now.
And the Nerf football.
Yeah.
Is that one of the Lidwin cases you're talking about? Oh, I
Yeah.
see. That's the D drum with the sparkle there.
Yes, sir. And the rest of it's in that case. There's some more of the pearl, the big giant one I bought from Newt.
That's not the export series, is it?
No, that's the those are those Pearl Masters, the
Oh,
maple,
okay.
the
I
maple
gotcha.
shells. Old kick drum from Shane.
Yeah.
There's some
see
more
that?
kick drums up there too. There's probably a Cloud9 one. Like these cases, I would never drag those around anymore.
Do you use the bags now, or just?
I do. There's some down there. You can see a squashed one up there on an older floor tom case.
Yeah.
A lot of them now, because I'm, if I am using a drum set, it just goes into my car.
Yeah.
It's not the days of like throwing it into the back of like a van or a bread truck. The Wet Spots had like a converted, it was an old Dutch potato chip, like the truck. Looks like a bread truck.
The box truck.
Yes, sir. You need cases. So, but at this point, let's go this way.
All right.
We don't need, you know, I bring my own gear in this car.
That's
and
awesome.
Times have changed.
I've always carried my own gear in my pocket.
I did leave a drum set ever so briefly. The winter beater, that's the one that's sitting up there. Talk about a clown kit, like just mismatched.
Nice.
You know, one time it's black, one time it's like marooned. When I was playing at Brewbaker's out in, it's not Highway 36. I suppose like North St. Paul where the snowman is on Highway 36.
Roseville? Is it Roseville?
Brewbaker's was off of like McKnight. So I want to say North 36, Highway 36 and McKnight Avenue would be like.
Okay. I remember the name, but I don't remember.
You're on your way to Stillwater type thing.
Oh, okay.
For the most part.
If you're on your way to prison,
okay.
stop by it.
So yeah, this is the
Oh, this is your other hobby. We're not going to get
Yeah.
fully into this, but this is something.
This is the TTRL. Look at my front fender.
What happened to your front fender?
I just thought it was cool. It looked like a factory rider because it's got my nickname on it.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the dirt bike. It's fun.
And you've been riding for how long?
Since I was 5 or 6.
Wow.
Got a little taste of it.
Holy moly, look at the remnants of that sticker right there.
Right on.
Snafu. Who would have known?
Another one of those hard shell cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, there's a lot of junk out here, isn't there? The Bandit, the 1250.
This is your other bike?
Yes, sir.
This is your full on.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you ride the other one in a regular situation, or do you got to keep it on the down low?
You're welcome to ride it up illegally up and down this alley all you want.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
there's no turn. It's a dirt bike. There's no turn signals. There's no mirrors.
It's for kicking up mud. And
There's no license plate. Yeah. But this is fully street legal. Oh, I should have brought the new tabs that are on the kitchen counter there. I could have brought those out.
Oh, 2026?
So yeah, I got them. That is the world. There it is. I've been waiting. Yes, we're in a Mac program.
I'm looking for DB Cooper to hop out.
I just saw a guy waving to you. That was cool. That's all I've got for you folks.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you, letting me come over and talk to you and seeing your stuff.
Right
and,
on.
Hearing your story. It's always fun. It's always fun to get to know people a little bit more too. And so Mockstar's still in a potential thing. Okay. So
There's the music stand right there, the M Star, and then the little plastic bin down there. I don't know what's in front of it.
Okay.
Those are all the lyrics for when you sign up.
All
It
right.
shows how long ago that kind of was. Like everyone would just bust out their phone now and have their own set of
Yes.
it. But
You just have the iPad
yeah,
now.
I have the laminated,
The book.
the hard, the box
The
of mock,
spiral notebook.
the box of mock.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So when you want to do these boots were made for walking, I've got a laminated copy for you.
That's right, but you got to be able to read cursive, so you can't be from Gen Z.
No, it's I went to like A to Z lyrics.gov or whatever. .edu. Here we go again. We're legit.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate it. I'm going to just show my hand.
All right on, brother.
So, thank
Pleasure
you
was
for,
mine.
Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for having me over, and
Yeah.
thanks for the interview. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and to hit that bell icon so you get notified for when we talk to very interesting people, just like this guy right here.
I don't know about that. It was fun, man. I appreciate it. I had a blast.
All right. Take care. Thank
He's gonna
you.
go. He's gonna head home and spin the helicopter. Okay.
Currently playing in the Midwest in Minneapolis, the group called Cloud9, playing drums for 19 years from the Twin Cities. Big round of applause for Chris Lakey.